Noah Mercer thought the survey crew had the wrong gate. 3 white trucks waited beside the Dry Creek cattle guard, their doors open to the June heat. A yellow tripod stood in the road. Beyond it, 2 men in orange vests drove a stake into the ground Noah's father had once called too poor to grow a decent snake. Noah stopped his pickup hard enough to make the coffee tin on the passenger floor roll under the glove box. A woman stepped away from the nearest truck. Her dark hair was shorter than he remembered, and she wore mirrored sunglasses, dust-colored boots, and the expression Camille Ortega usually saved for people who had wasted her time professionally. "You're late," she said. "For what?" "The Boundary and Contours Survey." Noah looked at the gate, then back the way he had come. Wade and Clay had received the ranch, the cattle, the wells, the barns, and every machine their father had ever sworn was one repair away from running beautifully. Noah had received this strip of sand and brush as a final insult. "You want my brothers?" he said. Camille removed her sunglasses. "The work order says the owner of Dry Creek. That's me as of 9:40 this morning." "I know." The wind lifted the corner of a paper clipped to her board. At the bottom was a signature Noah knew better than his own. Harlan Mercer. His father had hired a survey crew for Noah's worthless inheritance 6 weeks before he died. 3 hours earlier, Wade had taken the ranch keys off Miriam Polk's desk before she finished speaking. Miriam was a careful woman with half-moon glasses and an office that smelled faintly of cinnamon gum. She paused, one hand still on the folder in front of her. "Those are not ceremonial," she said. "I'm aware of what keys do." Wade turned the ring over in his palm. "I've been using most of them for 20 years. Clay sat beside him, elbows on his knees, hat turning slowly between his hands. His black funeral jacket looked borrowed, though Noah knew it had come from the same store as Wade's. On Wade, grief had been pressed into sharp creases. On Clay, it hung crooked. Noah sat across the conference table with a paper cup of water he hadn't touched. The meeting had been scheduled 10 days after Harlan's funeral, long enough for the casseroles to stop arriving and the condolences to become questions about cattle prices. Noah had spent those 10 days in a roadside motel with a flickering vacancy sign and a television remote that only changed the volume. He could have stayed with someone. At least 3 people had offered, but pity was difficult to sleep beside. Miriam continued through machinery, livestock, mineral rights, and household property. Wade nodded as if receiving an inventory shipment. Clay watched his hat. Noah had expected nothing. Harlan had been unusually clear about that 3 years ago, standing on the front porch while Noah's belongings lay in the dirt. You walk out for her, you stay out. Her had been Mae Mercer, Harlan's wife and Noah's mother, who had needed help after surgery and hated asking for it. Wade and Clay had stayed on the ranch. Noah had driven her to appointments, learned which grocery store carried the crackers she could keep down, and slept on a fold-out chair that left his back bent for an hour every morning. After she died, Harlan had made the story simple enough to repeat. Noah abandoned the ranch when the family needed him. Simple stories survived because nobody had to hold them up to the light. Miriam adjusted the folder. To Noah James Mercer, Harlan leaves the parcel commonly designated as Dry Creek, approximately 180 acres, subject to final boundary confirmation. Wade made a sound through his nose. Clay's hat stopped turning. Noah looked at Miriam. "He left me land?" "He did." "Dry Creek," Wade said. "Don't leave out the poetry." Miriam gave him a flat look. "I'm reading the relevant provision, Wade. I'm helping with local color." Dry Creek formed the southern tail of the ranch, a long, ragged parcel separated from the main range by an old fence and several miles of resentment. It had once carried seasonal water. In Noah's lifetime, it mostly carried tumbleweeds, beer cans, and flood debris. Harlan used to threaten lazy ranch hands with retirement there. Noah leaned back. The chair complained under him. "Does it have access?" he asked. "Yes." "Taxes current?" "Yes." "Any debt attached?" "Not that I've found." Wade smiled. "Congratulations. You're a land baron." "Wade," Clay said quietly. "What?" "I mean it. He can stand on all 180 acres at once if the wind's blowing hard enough." Noah watched Clay for some sign that the warning had been sincere. Clay lowered his eyes first. Miriam slid a thin packet across the table. Wade and Clay had received 3 thick binders. Noah's inheritance was held together with one black clip. "There are some personal effects not specifically assigned," Miriam said. You three will need to arrange, already arranged, Wade said. Noah can pick up what's his. Nothing from Dad's room, nothing from the office, and nothing marked as ranch property. Mom's things? Noah asked. Wade's thumb rubbed across the ranch keys. What things? The cedar chest, her books, the blue dishes from her mother. You haven't wanted them for 3 years. I wasn't allowed through the gate for 3 years. Miriam took off her glasses. The household contents pass with the house unless otherwise specified. That does not prevent the two of you from reaching a reasonable agreement. Wade's smile barely moved. He has 48 hours. Generous, Noah said. I thought so. Clay finally looked up. He had Harlan's heavy brow and May's soft mouth, a combination that made him appear sorry, even when he wasn't. I'll pull the chest out for you. Wade glanced sideways. If it's his, it's Mom's. Mom isn't here to tell us. The room went still in the ordinary way rooms did, after somebody said something crueler than intended. Wade set the keys down, but he did not apologize. Noah rose and took his thin packet. There are signatures needed, Miriam said. Show me where. He signed beside colored tabs while Wade checked a message on his phone, and Clay stared at the framed photograph behind Miriam's desk. Noah didn't ask why Harlan had left him Dry Creek. He would not give his brothers the pleasure of watching him search for affection in a property description. Outside, the courthouse parking lot shimmered. Wade walked toward Harlan's clean silver pickup, which had become his sometime between the reading of 2 paragraphs. Noah, Clay called. Noah kept walking. Clay caught up beside the dented blue pickup Noah had bought from a fencing contractor in Las Cruces. I meant what I said about the chest. Did you? I can have it by the mudroom, put it outside. That'll keep with tradition. Clay flinched. Noah regretted it, which made him angrier. Wade called from across the lot. We have a feed delivery at 11. I know, Clay called back. No, apparently I have a feed delivery. Wade lifted the key ring. You have a family reunion. Clay's jaw tightened, but he turned back to Noah. Dry Creek isn't nothing. Careful, he'll hear you. I'm serious. Mom used to walk down there. Mom used to sit in hospital parking lots too. Doesn't make them valuable. That's not what I meant. Noah opened his truck door. The cab released a wave of trapped heat, carrying the smells of canvas, metal filings, and old dog. On the floor rested the coffee tin, holding Blue's ashes. He had been meaning to find a place for them since January. The dog had loved the ranch, with an optimism Noah considered evidence of poor judgment. Clay noticed the tin and looked away. Come by after 4, he said. Wade'll be at the North Pens. Do I need to sneak into the house now? You know that's not what I'm saying. I don't know what you're saying. That's always been the trouble. Clay put on his hat. Dad was different near the end. Noah waited. Clay seemed to expect the sentence to finish itself. When it didn't, he said, He asked about you. Did he? Once. That must have taken it out of him. Noah climbed in and shut the door. Through the windshield, he watched Clay return to the silver pickup. Wade said something. Clay answered. Wade laughed, and Clay did too, though a second late. Noah drove south. Now, standing at the Dry Creek gate, he held Harlan's work order while Camille watched him read it for the 3rd time. The signature was unmistakable. The hard upward slash of the H, the narrow, cramped letters after it. Harlan had signed checks the same way, as if his own name irritated him. Where did you get this? Noah asked. My office. He came to you? He did. When? The date is there. I can read dates, Camille. Good. Survey work has several. One of the crewmen near the tripod coughed into his fist to hide a laugh. Camille looked over, and he became intensely interested in his level. Noah handed the board back. What exactly did he hire you to do? Confirm the parcel boundary, map the old channel and floodplain, shoot elevations across the lower benches, and mark the existing stone structures. What stone structures? That's one reason that people commission surveys. There's nothing out here but sand. Camille put her sunglasses on top of her head. You've been gone. There was no accusation in her voice, which made it land like one. Noah looked past her. Dry Creek spread under the white sky, all gray brush and pale soil. The old line shack leaned behind a stand of salt cedar. A strand of fence wire flashed in the sun. It looked exactly as he remembered, and somehow less forgiving. Did he tell you why? He said he wanted to know if an old water spreading system could be restored. Noah turned to her. Camille's face changed slightly. not softer, more careful. He had maps, she said, hand-drawn ones. Notes about grasses, soil, old flood paths, Mom's notebooks. I assume so. Noah felt the morning tilt beneath him. He saw May at the kitchen table, drawing little arrows beside rainfall totals. He saw Harlan tossing one of her notebooks onto a counter after Noah brought them home from Albuquerque. We run cattle here. We don't color pictures of rain. Where are they? He asked. The notebooks? Your father took them with him? Of course he had. Camille checked her watch. There's another issue. There usually is when you check your watch like that. The deposit covered mobilization and part of the day. The estate hasn't paid the balance. If you want the full survey, it's $9,460. Noah laughed once. Camille didn't. That's more than the land's worth. Probably not. You trying to sell me something? Noah, I already sold it. To your father. The old familiarity in the way she said his name was worse than seeing Harlan's signature. Behind them, an engine started. One of the crew trucks eased closer to the gate. We can complete the first control line before noon, Camille said. After that, I need authorization from the current owner, or I pull my crew. Noah crouched and reached through the open passenger door for the coffee tin. Blue's ashes shifted softly inside. He had $812 in checking, 2 late invoices, a truck that pulled left, and a motel bill due tomorrow. Camille waited without rescuing him. He carried the tin to the gate and set it on the sun-bleached post. Then he looked through the wire at the land his brothers had laughed away. Show me the first line, he said. Camille ducked beneath the chain and lifted it high enough for Noah to pass. You always did know how to make a man feel welcome, he said. This is me being efficient. Welcome would include lemonade. Your lemonade used to taste like transmission fluid. You drank 4 glasses the day you helped me move. It was hot. It was March. She let the chain drop behind him. Noah took the coffee tin from the gatepost and carried it under his arm. One of the crewmen, a broad man with a red bandana tied around his neck, gave the tin a curious look, but had the manners not to ask. The other man walked backward through the brush, holding a striped survey rod, while Camille sighted through the instrument. 20 feet east, Luis, she called. Luis moved. Other east. He raised one hand without turning. I was testing you. Noah followed Camille along a path flattened by the crew. The heat had sharpened the smell of creosote. Grasshoppers snapped against his jeans, and dry seed heads caught in his socks just above his boots. Camille stopped beside a stake topped with blue flagging. This is the southwest corner shown on the county description. We still have to reconcile it with the physical evidence. What physical evidence? Old monuments, fence corners, stone mounds, anything that indicates where people believe the line was. My father believed a property line was wherever he happened to be standing. That isn't one of the recognized standards. It would have disappointed him to hear that. She took 3 steps toward a shallow depression barely visible beneath the weeds. A row of dark stones crossed it at an angle. Most were buried. A few showed through the sand like the backs of old animals. Here, she said. Noah nudged one with his boot. It didn't move. That a boundary marker? No. We think it's one of the spreaders. We? Your father brought an approximate map. Noah crouched and brushed sand away with his fingers. The stone continued below the surface, fitted against another one. Whoever built the line had chosen pieces flat enough to lock together, but small enough to carry. It wasn't a wall. It couldn't have stopped water. It could only have irritated it into slowing down. I don't remember this, he said. You wouldn't have seen much of it. I used to ride through here, apparently not with a shovel. She called Luis over. He planted the rod at the exposed stone, while Camille wrote an elevation in her field book. Noah traced the line with his eyes. It ran toward the salt cedar, disappeared, and seemed to emerge again nearly 40 yards away. Who built it? He asked. Camille shrugged. Probably several people over several years. Ray might know. Your Uncle Ray? You know another one? I thought he'd moved. He did. Then he moved back. It's a family tradition around here. That one was meant for him. Noah stood, dusting his hands on his jeans. Camille had earned the right to it. He disliked that almost as much as he disliked the accuracy. Luis moved on with the rod. The man in the red bandana, whose name turned out to be Ben, drove another stake and stamped the soil firm around it. The blows echoed strangely in the open land. Noah walked beside Camille as she headed toward the old channel. Did Harlan mention me? She kept her attention on the ground. He mentioned your plan. That wasn't the question. I know. So? He said his youngest had drawn it. Noah waited for more. That's all. Sounds like him? Camille stepped over a length of fallen wire. He didn't look well. He was dying. People can look unwell without announcing why. He was good at that too. She stopped at the edge of the channel. It was deeper than Noah remembered, with nearly vertical banks where runoff had cut through pale layers of soil. A rusted barrel lay crushed against a mesquite root. Flood debris hung 6 feet above the bottom, branches and wire twisted together. Camille pointed to the bank. This is what he wanted mapped. The water comes in fast, stays confined, and leaves. Every time it does, the channel gets lower. That drains the ground next to it. Noah climbed down, boots sliding in the loose sand. I know how erosion works. I'm sure you do. I drew the plan, remember? I remember you drawing a lot of plans. He looked up at her. She remained on the bank, outlined against the hard blue sky. Say what you mean. I remember you staying up until 2 in the morning, drawing lines on your mother's rainfall charts. I remember you talking about getting Harlan to change his stocking schedule. I remember you saying you'd come by my place as soon as things settled down. My mother was dying. I know that, Noah. Then why are we doing this? Because she died, and nothing settled down, and you left without telling me whether you wanted me to come. He looked away toward the crushed barrel. His last week at the ranch came back in useless fragments. Boxes collapsing in the yard, Harlan shouting from the porch, Blue barking because everyone else was loud. Camille had called twice. Noah had texted that his half-inch socket set was still in her garage and asked if she could leave it with Ray. At the time, it had seemed like a practical message. You stopped answering, he said. After 6 months of you calling when you were lonely and changing the subject whenever I asked where this was going. I didn't know. That was the answer. Ben appeared at the top of the channel with his hammer. He looked from Camille to Noah, understood that he had arrived somewhere private, and pointed vaguely upstream. I'm going to put a stake over there. Excellent choice, Camille said. He left quickly. Noah climbed out on the opposite bank. Camille offered a hand. He almost refused, then took it. Her grip was dry and familiar. She released him as soon as he was steady. Ray still have my sockets? He asked. Probably. He believes returning tools encourages weak character. That also sounds like him. A smile touched one corner of her mouth before she turned away. They followed the old channel for nearly an hour. The crew marked stone remnants, changes in elevation, and the broad, shallow places where floodwater once escaped across the benches. Seen through Camille's stakes, Dry Creek began to look less empty. Blue flags described curves Noah could not hold in his head from ground level. The land had shape beneath the damage. Near the line shack, Luis uncovered a second stone row using the edge of a shovel. Noah knelt beside it. That one wasn't on Mom's sketch. Camille checked a folded photocopy tucked behind her field book. Noah recognized May's handwriting even upside down, the rounded numbers, the little open circles she used to mark cottonwoods. You copied them? Only the pages your father brought. Can I see? She handed them over. Harlan had brought 7 pages. 4 were rainfall records. 2 showed plant observations along the creek. The last held Noah's drawing, made on the back of a hospital cafeteria menu. His mother had added notes in green ink. Near one proposed stone line she had written, "Ask Ray about 78 flood." Harlan had circled that note in pencil. Yes, Noah rubbed his thumb across the photocopy, though there was nothing to feel. What did he say when he gave you this? He put the bag on my desk and said, "Tell me if any of it's still worth doing." And what did you tell him? That I couldn't answer without a survey. He must have loved that. He accused me of selling rulers by the foot. Noah laughed before he could stop himself. Camille folded her arms. I gave him an estimate. He complained for 20 minutes, went outside, then came back in and wrote the deposit check. That sounds more like him. He also asked me not to tell you. The laugh disappeared. Why? He said it wasn't yours yet. Noah handed back the copied pages. So he knew he was leaving it to me. Yes, and he still didn't call. Camille's expression held no answer he wanted. From the tripod, a timer sounded. Luis checked his watch and announced that it was 11:45. Camille gathered the papers. I have to make a decision about the afternoon. I thought you said the deposit covered part of today, which costs $9,000. $9,460. Thank you. The extra precision helps. I can break it into 3 phases. Boundary first. Topography second. Final mapping and setting permanent reference points last. How much to finish the boundary? 1860, due in 14 days. Noah looked toward his truck. He had a fencing invoice for $2,300 that might be paid this week, or might be paid whenever Sam Pritchard remembered invoices were not thank you notes. Another job was supposed to begin Monday, replacing 3 miles of burned fence west of town. It would cover the survey if his truck survived the commute and nobody needed to eat. What happens if I stop now? He asked. We file the work we completed and leave. And if I can't pay in 14 days? Camille glanced at Luis and Ben, both busy packing equipment with exaggerated concentration. Then my company carries a receivable it cannot afford, and I feel stupid in a way that has nothing to do with surveying. I'm not asking you to do me a favor. Good, I mean it. So do I. He walked to the line shack. The door hung open by one hinge. Inside were a broken cot frame, mouse droppings, 2 brown bottles, and a hornet nest the size of a work glove. The roof had failed above the stovepipe, leaving a bright, ragged hole. His motel suddenly seemed luxurious. He set Blue's ashes on the dusty stone ledge beneath the window. On the wall, cut lightly into the wood, were 3 sets of initials. WM, CM, NM. Wade's was highest. Noah remembered Clay lifting him so he could carve his own, while Wade warned that Harlan would skin them all. Harlan had seen the initials that evening. He called them sloppy and made the brothers sand the splinters smooth so nobody tore a shirt. He never removed the letters. Noah returned to Camille. Finish the boundary. She studied him. You sure? No. That wasn't a complicated question. It's the best answer I've got. She retrieved a contract from her truck and clipped it beneath Harlan's work order. Noah read every line. Wade would have mocked that too. Harlan had taught all 3 sons never to sign something they hadn't read, then spent his life acting insulted when they followed the advice. Noah signed. Camille looked at his name beside his father's. Whatever she thought, she kept it to herself. All right, she called to the crew. We're staying. Luis unpacked the tripod again. Ben drove a fresh steak beside the shack, and the hammer blows followed Noah as he went to his truck. His phone showed a missed call from Clay and a message beneath it. Chest is by the mudroom. Come before Wade changes his mind. Noah looked back at the blue flag stirring across Dry Creek. Camille stood in the channel with a photocopy of May's notes in one hand, directing Luis toward a stone line none of them had known was there that morning. He took Blue's ashes from the shack before he left. There were some things he had already abandoned once. The main ranch gate was open, but Noah stopped anyway. For 3 years, the cattle guard had been a line he could picture from anywhere. He had imagined crossing it after Harlan's death, after an apology, after Wade called to say they needed him. In none of those rehearsals had he been driving in to collect his mother's dishes while a survey bill sat on the passenger seat. Blue's ashes rested on the floor again. Noah reached down and wedged the tin behind his tool bag. Don't get used to traveling first class, he said. The cottonwoods along the lane looked thinner. Harlan had painted the trunks with whitewash every spring, convinced it discouraged insects, despite evidence that the insects did not care. The lower halves remained pale and ghostly, while the upper branches rattled in the heat. Noah passed the calving shed, the machine shop, and the corrals where he had learned nearly every useful curse he knew. A feed truck stood beside the north pens. Wade was on top of a stack of bagged supplement, cutting plastic wrap with a pocket knife. Clay worked the forklift below. Both men saw Noah. Wade went back to cutting. Clay lifted one hand, then remembered he was operating heavy equipment and grabbed the wheel again. The cedar chest waited outside the mudroom under a horse blanket. Beside it were 4 boxes labeled Mom's Books, Blue Dishes, Linens, and Noah, room in Clay's squared handwriting. It was more care than Noah had expected, and less than the house contained. He parked with the tailgate facing the steps. Before he could reach the chest, the mudroom door opened and Clay came out carrying another box. Thought you were unloading feed, Noah said. Wade said he could finish. Did he say it like a gift or a threat? Both. Lift your end. The chest was heavier than memory. May had kept quilts in it, along with photo albums, winter scarves, and objects she planned to repair, despite having no apparent method for repairing them. Clay took the brass-hinged end. Noah took the other. On 3, Clay said. They lifted on 2. the way they always had. Halfway to the truck, Clay's boot slipped in the gravel. The chest dropped against Noah's shin. "Still lifting on two?" Noah said through his teeth. "I thought you gotten smarter. I thought you gotten stronger." They wrestled it onto the lowered tailgate and stood breathing over it. Clay rubbed his palms on his jeans. His wedding ring had left a red indentation where the wood pressed against it. His wife, Erin, worked week on, week off, at a hospital in Santa Fe and had not been at the estate meeting. She had sent Noah a brief message after the funeral. "I'm sorry about Harlan. I'm sorrier about the rest." It was the only condolence he believed without examining. "You could have used the dolly," Wade called from the driveway. He approached carrying 2 bottles of water and tossed one to Clay. He did not offer the other to Noah. After a moment, Clay handed Noah his and took Wade's. Wade watched this exchange, touching. "Survey went long," Noah said. It was an unnecessary sentence, which was why Wade noticed it. "What survey? The one at Dry Creek?" Wade twisted the cap off his water. "What are they surveying?" "Ground, mostly." Clay coughed. Wade didn't smile. "You hired a crew before the estate papers were signed?" "No." "Then who did?" Noah could have lied. The impulse came warm and immediate. He could have let Wade invent reasons for the white trucks, let suspicion keep him awake. But Harlan's signature had already done enough damage in silence. "Dad." Clay lowered his bottle. Wade stared at Noah, then toward the southern ridge as if the answer might be visible beyond it. "For what?" "Boundary and contours." "Why?" "Didn't leave a personal message." "He hired surveyors for that scrub patch?" 6 weeks ago, Clay said. "That's around when he went to Las Cruces twice." Wade turned on him. "He told me he was seeing Barron about the south well. Maybe he did that too. He was gone all day." Noah folded the horse blanket and set it inside the chest. "Sounds like Dad contained multitudes." Wade stepped closer. "I want to see the order." "No. Anything Harlan contracted before his death could be an estate expense. Camille says it isn't." "Camille." The way Wade said her name made Noah's shoulders tighten. "Careful. I'm saying you've been back 10 days, and an old girlfriend is already running equipment over land you didn't know you owned. And I'm saying careful." Clay moved between them without appearing to. He picked up the box of books and set it on the truck bed. Wade's face eased into a smile Noah distrusted. "If Dad paid for it, I need a copy. That's all." "He paid a deposit. I'm paying the rest." "With what?" "That the brotherly concern I've been missing? That's a practical question. Dry Creek hasn't produced $1 since before we were born. Then you've got nothing to worry about." Wade took a long drink. Beneath the brim of his hat, a muscle moved near his temple. He had always disliked being excluded more than being opposed. Noah remembered him at 20, furious for a week because Harlan and Clay had repaired a stock tank without telling him. It had not mattered that Wade hated plumbing. Somebody else had known something first. "Dad didn't waste money," Wade said. Clay looked toward the machine shed. Noah nearly laughed. "Not on purpose," Wade added. "Maybe he wanted to confirm how worthless it was," Noah said. "Maybe he needed a professional opinion for my inheritance." That possibility soothed Wade enough to make him hate it. He set the empty bottle on the mudroom railing. "Don't interfere with the cattle route." "The route crosses my parcel. It's been used since Granddad's time. I didn't say you couldn't use it." "Good. I said don't assume." Wade's eyes narrowed. 48 hours for the rest of your things. Still feeling generous? Less by the minute. He returned to the feed truck without saying goodbye. Clay waited until Wade climbed the stacked bags, then quietly removed Wade's empty bottle from the railing. He crushed it and tucked it into his back pocket. "You could try disagreeing where he can hear you," Noah said. "I do. Must happen at a pitch humans can't detect." Clay picked up the box marked linens. "You want help or commentary?" "Depends. Is the commentary any good?" "No." "Help then." They loaded the boxes. Noah opened Mom's books and found May's field guides, 3 murder mysteries with cracked spines, a church cookbook held together by rubber bands, and a veterinary manual printed before any of them were born. "The notebooks aren't here," he said. "What notebooks?" "The ones she kept about rainfall, plants, Dry Creek." Clay set down the linens. Dad had them. "I know. Where are they?" "Probably the office." Wade said nothing from the office. He meant Dad's personal stuff. He means whatever is useful at the moment. Clay glanced toward the north pens. The forklift beeped in reverse. "I'll look," he said. "I can look." "Noah, it was my house too." "Not legally." The words came out with Harlan's bluntness. Clay heard it. His mouth tightened. Noah closed the book box. "You've adjusted fast. I'm trying to keep this from becoming a fight. It became a fight 3 years ago. You've been standing near it ever since." Clay stepped back as if Noah had raised a hand. The mudroom door opened behind them. Cool air carried out the smells of coffee, leather, and lemon oil. Beyond the laundry sink, Noah could see the kitchen table. May's chair was gone. Harlan had removed it after her death because one leg wobbled. Noah had found it in the machine shed and repaired the leg, but Harlan never brought it back inside. On the wall above the telephone hung a calendar, still turned to May. Harlan's handwriting filled the squares until the 17th. Vet, 10, Pump Man, Clay North Pears. Then nothing. Noah went in. "You've got 48 hours, Clay said. "I didn't say you had to stand outside." The house had shrunk. The ceiling seemed lower, the hallway narrower. Harlan's felt hat no longer hung on the peg by the kitchen, leaving a clean oval in the dust. Wade's sunglasses sat beside the sink, claiming the space with insulting speed. Noah opened the cupboard where May kept the blue dishes. Most were gone, packed for him. One saucer remained beneath a small clay pot containing a nearly dead Christmas cactus. "Wade waters that," Clay said behind him. Noah looked back. "He always has. Mom told him it bloomed better if you ignored it, so he's been trying to prove her right." The cactus leaned gray-green over the pot, stubbornly alive. Noah left the saucer where it was. In the hallway, the office door stood closed. Harlan had installed a brass lock after Noah left, though there had never been anything in the room more secret than invoices and bad tax advice. Clay touched Noah's shoulder. "Not today." "Because Wade said so?" "Because the feed man's here. I have 80 pairs to move before dark, and you look like you want somebody to stop you." Noah turned. Clay did not remove his hand. For 1 second, they were close enough to look like brothers again. Then Wade shouted from outside, "Clay!" Clay's hand dropped. "I'll find the notebooks," he said. "And if Wade says no?" Clay looked at the locked office door. "I'll find them." Noah wanted to believe him. Wanting was the part that exhausted him. He carried the last box out alone. At the motel, the manager had placed a pink envelope under his door. "Payment due." Today was written across the front, with the today underlined twice. Noah stood in the hot walkway holding it, while the air conditioner inside his room rattled like bolts in a coffee can. His phone rang. Sam Pritchard. Noah answered on the second ring. "Tell me you mailed the check." "Good afternoon to you too." "Good afternoon." "Tell me you mailed the check." A pause followed, padded with distant machinery. "Got a little timing issue." "Sam?" "The buyer's slow paying me." "You said that last week?" "Still true. I need my money. I can get you $500 Friday, rest after the 1st. The survey payment was due before the 1st. Noah pressed his thumb against the edge of the envelope. "What about the burn fence job?" "Materials got delayed. Looking like Wednesday, maybe Thursday." "Of this week?" Sam chuckled. "I admire your optimism." When the call ended, Noah went inside. The room contained a bedspread patterned with gold leaves, 1 chair, and 9 nights' worth of not belonging. His clean shirts hung from the shower rod. His boots were lined beside a miniature refrigerator that froze milk and warmed everything else. He looked through the window at the cedar chest in his truck. 20 minutes later, he carried his duffel to the office and paid what he owed. The manager tore up the pink envelope and told him the checkout was 11. Noah said he was leaving now. He drove back to Dry Creek with the tailgate rattling and May's dishes wrapped in Clay's old newspapers. The survey trucks were gone. Blue flags trembled across the late light, each one marking a fact he had paid to learn. The line shack waited with its broken roof and hornet nest. Noah stood in the doorway holding the coffee tin under one arm and his mother's cedar chest handle in the other. "Well," he told Blue, "this is either rock bottom or acreage." A wasp passed his face and disappeared through the hole above the stove. Noah set the tin inside, found a can of insect spray behind his tools, and went to work making the place uninhabitable for somebody else. The insect spray killed the hornets, 3 spiders, and whatever hope Noah had of sleeping inside the shack that night. He left both windows open, though one had no screen and the other had no glass. Then he dragged the broken cot frame into the yard, laid a moving blanket in the truck bed, and climbed under another one with his boots still on. The stars above Dry Creek were offensively beautiful. Blue had always hated sleeping outdoors. He would circle a patch of ground, sigh, circle again, then stare at Noah as though somebody ought to be reported. Noah found himself listening for that sigh until the chemical smell drifting from the shack gave him a headache. Sometime after midnight, a coyote called from the ridge. Another answered farther south. Noah pulled the blanket over his shoulder. "Don't start," he told the coffee tin in the cab. He woke to the sound of a truck door shutting. Camille stood beside the bed of his pickup, holding 2 paper cups. Her crew trucks were parked by the gate, bright in the early light. Louise was unlocking the chain. Ben had already found something to hammer. "You live here now?" she asked. Noah sat up. Every joint in his body objected separately. "Good morning." "It is." "Then why'd you say it like that?" She handed him a cup. Ray sent coffee. Noah peeled back the lid and smelled cinnamon. "He's still putting this nonsense in it?" "He says plain coffee rewards a lack of imagination." "It rewards coffee." Camille looked past him at the boxes stacked inside the shack. He had managed to move everything before darkness. The cedar chest sat beneath the one reliable section of roof. Blue's ashes were on the stone window ledge beside a blue dish he had unpacked to hold his keys. "Temporary," he said. "I didn't ask." You raised one eyebrow. "My face isn't part of the official survey." "Does it have monuments?" She took a drink to hide a smile. "We'll finish the boundary today if the old corner at the north end checks out. I need the access lane clear. I'll move the truck. And put a shirt on." He looked down. "This one cost me $6 at a charity auction." "That's a blanket." She walked away before he could answer. Noah climbed out, wrapped in dignity in wool. His clean clothes were in a duffel under the collapsed cot. He changed behind the shack, using the truck mirror to check his hair, then resented himself for checking. By 7, the day was hot. He cleared dead branches from the access lane while the crew worked north. His first useful discovery as a landowner was that salt cedar could scratch through denim. His second was that the line shack's hand pump produced one rusty cough and no water. Camille found him with his head inside the pump housing. "Surveying it?" she asked. "Trying to see why it's dry. It's Dry Creek. Thank you for your professional assessment." She crouched beside him. The pump handle hung loose because the connecting rod had broken below the seal. Noah pulled it up with pliers. The lower end was red with corrosion. "Can it be fixed?" she asked. "If the well still has water. Does it? I'll let you know when the land starts answering questions for free." She stood. "The boundary is boring. That sounds affordable. The deed description matches the old corners within the tolerances I expected. A few fence sections wander, but not enough to start a war. Wade will be devastated. You sound disappointed. I sound poor." She looked toward the open shack. "Those aren't the same thing." Before Noah could respond, Louise called her to the north line. She left him holding the broken pump rod. Around 9, an old green Ford came over the cattle guard without slowing. Dust rolled behind it. The truck stopped inches from the shack wall, and Ray Ortega climbed out wearing pressed work pants, a pearl snap shirt, and a straw hat with a sweat stain older than Noah's truck. He looked at Noah, looked at the shack, then looked at the moving blanket in the truck bed. "You planning to live like this?" Ray said. "Or did you lose a bet?" "Good to see you, too." Ray reached behind the seat and produced a red metal socket box. He held it out. Noah took it. "You kept this 3 years? You asked Camille to leave it with me. I thought you'd bring it by. You didn't say where you were. You knew. I knew a town. I'm not the postal service." The half-inch socket was missing. Noah opened his palm and waited. Ray dug into his shirt pocket and dropped it there. "Character test," he said. "Did I pass?" "No." Camille approached with her field book. She kissed Ray's cheek, and he complained that she got sunscreen on him. "You brought coffee for him and not your favorite niece?" she asked. "I brought coffee to my favorite niece. You chose to give it away. You put Noah's name on the cup. Then I brought him coffee." Camille shook her head and returned to the crew. Ray watched her leave. "She's mad at you," I gathered. "No, you gathered luggage. That's different." Noah closed the socket box. "Did you come here to help or narrate?" "Camille said you found May's stone lines." "They're not hers. She mapped them." Ray walked toward the closest blue stake. He moved more slowly than Noah remembered, favoring his right knee, but once he reached the shallow swale, he began reading the ground with quick, certain glances. "This one was here when I came to work for your granddad," he said. "Your mother and I uncovered part of it after the flood in '78. She wrote to ask you about that." "Did she?" Noah showed him the photocopy Camille had let him keep for the day. Ray held it at arm's length, then took reading glasses from his pocket. "She remembered the cottonwood," he said. "What cottonwood?" "Big one used to stand about there." He pointed toward a bare patch beyond the salt cedar. Flood took half the bank. Tree fell across the channel and pushed the water onto this bench. Grass came up belly high the next spring. Why didn't anybody keep it that way? Because the tree washed out. Then your granddad ran a blade through the channel so it wouldn't happen again. He got rid of the thing that helped. He got rid of the thing that blocked his road. People solved the problem in front of the truck. Ray followed the buried stones, tapping the soil with the heel of his boot. These weren't made to dam anything. Water goes over, loses speed, drops what it's carrying. You build too high, it cuts around and leaves you a bigger hole. Noah looked across the swale. "Could we rebuild it?" "You can rebuild anything if you don't mind doing it twice." "That a yes?" "That's an answer." Ray walked to the old channel and climbed down before Noah could offer a hand. He studied the debris caught beneath the mesquite roots, then pushed his glasses onto his forehead. "Channel's dropped 4 feet since I last stood in it." "When was that?" "The day your father fired me." Noah had been in Albuquerque with May then. Harlan told him Ray quit. Clay said there had been an argument but would not explain it. "What happened?" Noah asked. Ray picked up a length of bleached wood and scratched a line in the sand. Harlan said, "You chose town over the ranch. I told him caring for his wife wasn't choosing town." "And he fired you for that?" "He fired me because I added that he was behaving like a jackass." Context matters. Noah laughed despite the pressure behind his eyes. Ray scratched a second line branching from the first. "This is where the water used to spread. Your father straightened this section after I left. Made it easier to push cattle through and sent the flow faster. He hired the survey. I heard." "You surprised?" "No." Noah stared at him. Ray shrugged. Harlan could be wrong for years, and then correct himself 6 inches. Didn't mean he'd tell anybody he moved. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. Feeling better is overrated before lunch. They climbed from the channel. Ray wiped the sand from his palms. "If you're going to work on this," he said, "you start small. Clear one spreader, repair it low, watch what the next rain does. The next rain could be September. Then you'll have plenty of time to fix that roof." Noah glanced at the shack. Ray looked at the dead hornets on the sill. And developed standards. A horn sounded from the north. Camille waved them over. The crew had found the old corner monument beneath a collapsed fence brace. It was nothing dramatic, only an iron pin driven between 2 stones. Luis took the final measurement. Camille checked it twice, wrote in her book, and told Noah the boundary closed. "That means?" he asked. "It means your 180 acres are approximately where everybody thought they were. No bonus acres? No. Secret river, not in the boundary scope. Gold?" Luis found a bottle cap. Luis held it up. Coors, vintage uncertain. Noah accepted the bottle cap and put it in his pocket. First harvest. Camille had him initial the completed field sheet. The formal drawing would take several days. She reminded him about the invoice without sounding like she was reminding him, which was more effective. When the crew left, Ray remained. He removed the ruined roof panel from the shack while Noah cut a replacement from a corrugated metal stacked behind the old machine lean-to. 2 of the sheets were usable if turned, so the rust holes didn't overlap. They worked without talking much. Ray measured, Noah cut. By late afternoon, the shack had a patched roof, a repaired door hinge, and enough dust in the air to coat the inside of their mouths. Noah offered him the last warm bottle of water from his cooler. Ray drank, grimaced, and said, "Tastes experienced. My well's broken. Your pump's broken. Don't insult the well until you know. Can you help pull it? I can watch you pull it. Generous. Age has improved me." A silver pickup appeared beyond the gate. Noah recognized it before the sunlight came off the hood. Clay drove slowly across the parcel, following the crew's flattened path. He parked beside Ray's Ford and got out, carrying a brown grocery bag against his chest. Ray tipped his hat, but said nothing. Clay took in the repaired roof, the open boxes, and the cedar chest visible through the doorway. You're staying here? For the moment. There's no power. I noticed around the time the light switches didn't work. No water either. Ray says I'm not allowed to insult the well. It has feelings, Ray said. Clay looked uncertain whether Ray was joking. He had been 15 when Harlan fired him, and old enough to understand sides. I found these, Clay said. He held out the bag. Inside were May's notebooks, their cloth covers faded, their pages swollen from years of being carried outdoors. Harlan's grocery receipt remained crumpled at the bottom. Noah did not take them immediately. Wade, no. He said they were ranch records. That doesn't answer me. Clay's jaw worked. I made copies for the office. Anne brought me the originals, their moms. Ray turned away and began gathering tools, offering the brothers the privacy of his back. Noah accepted the bag. It was heavier than paper should have been. Thank you, he said. Clay shoved his hands into his pockets. Don't make me regret it. Why would gratitude be the part you regret? Because with you, it usually comes right before a question. Noah looked at Harlan's receipt in the bottom of the bag. It was from a market near Camille's office, dated the day he hired the survey. All right, Clay said. Ask. Noah lifted his eyes. What else was Dad doing before he died? Clay looked toward the blue stakes crossing the dry ground. I don't know, he said, but Wade's asking the same thing. Why is Wade asking? Noah said. Clay leaned against the hood of his pickup. Because Dad ordered something none of us knew about. Because you won't show him the paperwork. Because he thinks people only keep things quiet when there's money involved. There isn't. I know that. You didn't know about the survey 15 minutes ago. I know Dry Creek. Do you? Clay looked across the gray brush. I know Dad wouldn't leave you something valuable. The sentence hung there. Ray set a wrench into his toolbox with a metallic click. Clay closed his eyes briefly. That came out wrong. No, it didn't. I meant Wade's thinking. You used Dad's name. I'm trying to tell you what's happening at the ranch. Wade's afraid the worthless land might be worth something. Wade's afraid of being the last person to understand anything. That was true enough to cool Noah's anger by a degree. Clay rubbed his thumb over a scratch in the silver paint. Dad started asking about the south end in April, which cattle used the crossing, when we last cleared the channel, whether the lower fence still ran where the old map showed it. And you didn't wonder why? He was sick. He asked the same question 6 times some days, and remembered feed prices from 1989 on others. Did you know he was changing the will? No. Did Wade? Clay hesitated. Ray shut the toolbox. I can leave slower, if that would help. No, Clay said. Wade knew Dad was meeting with Miriam. He didn't know what he changed. Noah held the grocery bag more tightly. Were you in the room when he asked about me? Kitchen. He was drinking coffee he wasn't supposed to have. He asked if I'd heard from you. What did you say? That Aaron had. Noah looked down at the notebooks. Clay added, he asked how you were. And? I said you were working. That's it? What did you want me to say? The answer came too quickly. That Noah slept badly. That Blue had died. That he repaired other people's fences because their broken places made sense. That Harlan's youngest son was alive, which ought to have been enough reason to pick up a phone. I don't know, Noah said. Clay nodded, almost relieved by the honesty. Ray lifted his toolbox into the Ford. I'm going to return when everybody's had the chance to become less exhausting. You'll be waiting years, Noah said. I'm retired. He drove out trailing dust. Clay opened the silver pickup's tailgate and pulled forward a square plastic water tank. It held perhaps 20 gallons, strapped into a wooden frame. Brought this too, he said. Camp stoves behind it. 2 propane bottles. I didn't ask, I noticed. Noah stared at the tank. The Mercer brand had been melted into one corner of the frame. Ranch property? He asked. Mine. I bought it for hunting camp. You don't hunt. That's why I don't need it. They lifted it down. Clay filled the shack's cooler and showed Noah the valve as though Noah had never met one. We're moving the south herd Friday, Clay said. About 120 head. Through here? That's the route. The survey stakes need to stay. We can keep them in the lane? No, the lane is part of what's being mapped. Clay exhaled. Then flag a path. I'll walk it with you first. Wade won't like that. I inherited land, not his preferences. Clay studied him, then nodded. 7 in the morning. After he left, Noah carried May's notebooks into the shack one at a time. There were 11. She had numbered them on the spines, though 4 and 5 were reversed on the shelf because she claimed sequence mattered less than knowing where you put things. Noah arranged them correctly in the cedar chest, then immediately switched 4 and 5 back. He sat on the floor with the first notebook open across his knees. May's entries were not graceful. She wrote the way she spoke when concentrating, short, direct, unimpressed by transitions. Rain, .38. North tank, cloudy. Harlan says gauge is wrong, gauge is not wrong. Noah smiled. As the years passed, her notes changed. More dry days, more bare soil. Cottonwoods losing limbs. After the 1998 flood, she sketched a wide sheet of water crossing the lower bench and wrote that Ray believed the old stones had spread it. Harlan thinks stones are in the way. Harlan frequently thinks the last thing he hit is in the way. Near midnight, Noah found his own drawing tucked between 2 pages, the original done on the hospital cafeteria menu. The copy Camille held had shown only the plan. On the reverse, below a list of sandwiches, May had written in green ink, "You keep wanting him to agree before you begin. That may be a long wait." Noah read the sentence until the lantern sputtered. The next morning, he began uncovering the closest stone line. He told himself he was only clearing it so he could see what remained. By noon, he had removed 3 wheelbarrows of sand and exposed 40 feet of fitted rock. Several sections had collapsed toward the channel. Salt cedar roots had lifted others apart. His phone rang from the shack. Sam's name appeared on the screen. "Please tell me you discovered banking," Noah said. "500's headed your way." "Today?" "Already sent." Noah opened his banking application and watched the balance change from $812 to $1,312. It was the most money he had, and still $900 less than what he owed between the survey and ordinary life. "You're short $1,800, he told Sam. "You make gratitude difficult. You make it expensive. The rest after the first." "You said that about the first. This first is the next first." Noah ended the call before language failed them both. He spent the afternoon on a welding repair 30 miles west, patching a cracked trailer gate for a woman who paid him in cash and insisted he take 2 jars of peach preserves. On the way back, he bought pump seals, roof screws, beans, bread, and a cheap mattress that came rolled so tightly it looked like industrial insulation. Dry Creek had gone purple in the evening shade when he returned. A paper tube leaned against the shack door. Inside was the preliminary boundary drawing and a note in Camille's handwriting. "Congratulations. It's still where we left it." Beneath that, she had added, "Don't rebuild anything until we shoot the topography." Noah propped the drawing against the blue dish. The next day, Ray helped him pull the pump rod. The well gave them 19 feet of wet pipe, 2 ruined seals, and enough black mud to ruin both their shirts. By late afternoon, the repaired hand pump brought up a thin stream of water that smelled like iron and tasted faintly of pennies. Ray spat into the brush. "Good water for tools. Can I drink it?" "You can drink anything once." They filled a jar and set it aside to settle. Then Ray walked to the exposed stone line. "You've been digging, observant. You've been moving rock. Some had fallen." Ray crouched. "Fallen rocks don't climb." Noah had added a second course to one section, raising it nearly 8 inches above the surrounding ground. It looked solid. More importantly, it looked like progress. "The old line was too low," Noah said. "According to my eyes." "Those the same eyes that slept beside dead hornets?" "The water needs to get out of the channel. It needs an invitation. You're building a restraining order." Noah picked up another stone. "The channel's 4 feet lower. A low line won't spread anything. A high line makes the water go around. Then we tie it into the bank. And when it overtops, it won't." Ray stood carefully, favoring his knee. "Everything overtops. You came to help." "I did help. I told you not to do that." Noah set the stone in place. Noted. Ray watched him fit it against the others. "Your father liked visible work too. That why you're annoyed?" "No, I'm annoyed because I'm hot. You could go home. I could have done that before meeting any Mercers." But he stayed another hour. He helped Noah clear roots from the lower section and refused to touch the raised course. Before leaving, he pointed at a line of clouds building over the distant mountains. "That hits north of here. You might get a little flow. The weather says 10%. The weather lives indoors." Noah watched the clouds after Ray drove away. They seemed too far off to matter. No thunder reached Dry Creek, and the sunset remained bright behind the shack. He ate beans from a saucepan and opened May's 7th notebook while the new mattress slowly expanded in the corner. At 9, wind moved through the salt cedar. Dust hissed against the windows. Noah stepped outside. The sky above him was clear enough to show stars, but the northern horizon flashed silently. A cool smell came across the land. Rain, somewhere else. He carried the lantern down to the old channel. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a dark ribbon appeared around the bend. It was barely ankle deep, brown with silt and foam. Noah laughed aloud as it slid past his boots. The creek had run before, but never while the rest of the land stayed dry. Water sent from a storm miles away arrived like a message with no return address. It reached the rebuilt stone line and pooled. For a moment, the line held. Water climbed the stones and began to feather across the low edge toward the bench. Noah crouched with the lantern, watching sand settle in little fans. Then the current found the place where he had raised the center. The flow turned sideways. It bit into the unprotected bank with a soft tearing sound. "No," Noah said. A section of soil collapsed. Water rushed through the opening, carrying 2 of his new stones into the channel. Noah set down the lantern and stepped into the flow. He grabbed one stone, lifted it, and lost his footing. His knee struck the bank hard enough to flash white through his vision. More water came. The raised course broke from the end inward. Stones rolled and knocked together beneath the muddy surface. The new cut widened until the entire flow poured around the structure Noah had spent 2 days improving. He crawled out, soaked to the waist, and stood breathing in the dark. By 11, the water was gone. It left one shallow wet patch on the bench and a fresh gash beside the stones. Noah's added course lay scattered downstream. The original low section remained exactly where generations of other hands had placed it. He retrieved the lantern and found Ray's boot prints preserved in the damp soil. They stopped at the edge of the line he had refused to help build. Noah sat there until the mud cooled around him, looking at the difference between work and being right. Ray returned before the mud had dried. He parked beside the shack, climbed out with 2 cups of coffee, and looked down the channel. Noah sat on an overturned bucket with his wet jeans stiff around his legs and a purple bruise spreading below his left knee. Ray handed him a cup. "Cinnamon," Noah said. "You suffered enough." They drank without speaking. In daylight, the damage looked smaller and more embarrassing. The new cut was perhaps 3 feet wide. 5 stones had moved. A person driving past at speed might not have noticed anything. Noah noticed every grain of displaced soil. "You want to say it?" he asked. Ray blew across his coffee. "What? That you told me?" "I know I told you. You generally enjoy confirming your own wisdom. At my age, confirmation gets repetitive." Ray stepped into the channel and inspected the bank. He pushed his fingers into the wet sand, then broke away a clump and crumbled it in his palm. "What did the water do first?" he asked. "Pooled behind the high section, then started spreading on the low end." "Good. It cut around here?" "Why?" "Because I built too high." Ray shook his head. "Because this bank was softer. High made the mistake larger. Soft told the water where to find it." Noah climbed down beside him, favoring his knee. Ray pointed to the roots exposed in the new cut. "You see the dark soil under there? Old deposit. Water used to cross this spot. You tried to turn it where it already wanted to go, but you didn't give it enough room. So, what do? We don't do anything until breakfast. I'm serious. So am I." Hungry men build monuments to irritation. They ate peach preserves on bread at the shack table. Ray pronounced the preserves acceptable, and then finished half a jar. Afterward, they carried the displaced stones back uphill and set them beside the original line. Ray showed Noah how to key the end into the bank without raising the center. They packed brush loosely into the fresh cut, not to stop water, but to slow it. "You'll lose some of this," Ray said. "Then why put it there? Losing the right thing can save the rest." Noah looked at him. Ray kept arranging branches. "Don't make that face. I'm talking about sticks." Camille arrived near 10 carrying the completed boundary drawing in a cardboard tube. She found Noah knee-deep in the cut and Ray sitting beneath the salt cedar, supervising with his hat over his face. "Good," she said. "You started without the elevations." Ray lifted the hat. "He learns by purchasing consequences." Camille took in the scattered rocks, the damp soil, and Noah's knee. "How much flow?" "Not much. Enough." "I know." She climbed down, boots sinking slightly. With the toe of one boot, she traced the route the water had taken around the raised stones. This bench falls almost a foot more than it appears to from here. That why you wanted the topography? No, I wanted it for decoration. Ray made a low sound that might have been a laugh. Noah climbed out. How much for that phase? 3,200. That includes cross-sections through the main channel and elevations on the old spreaders. Any chance I get a returning customer discount? You're not a returning customer. You're an unpaid current customer. The boundary isn't due for 11 days. I know exactly when it's due. She handed him the drawing. He unrolled it across the hood of his truck. Black lines made Dry Creek look orderly. The parcel was long and irregular, wider near the southern boundary, narrowing where it joined the ranch road. The old cattle lane crossed it diagonally. Camille had marked the channel in blue, and the stone remnants with small numbered symbols. Nothing on the page suggested a hidden prize. It was a precise picture of work. If I can pay half on the topography, he asked. You can schedule when you have half. The balance is due when we deliver. That sounded painful. It is. I spent 6 years building a company. I'm not losing it because you make a convincing sad face. I don't have a sad face. Ray lifted his hat again. You do. Camille tapped the drawing. Don't rebuild above the elevation of the original stones. Clear them, document them, and wait until we shoot the rest. I can't just wait. Why? Because I'm living in a shack with 19 feet of rusty pump rod and $9,000 of questions. That's not the land's emergency. Noah rolled the drawing too tightly. The paper buckled. Camille took it from him and loosened the roll. You keep treating every pause like somebody is throwing you out. He glanced at Ray. Ray lowered his hat over his face. I'm not doing this here, Noah said. Fine. Do it somewhere with air conditioning. I don't have anywhere with air conditioning, I noticed. The concern beneath her irritation made him want to defend himself from things she had not said. I'm handling it, he told her. You slept in your truck. One night, you sold your bed. I checked out of a motel. That isn't better. It's not your problem. No, it's just happening in front of me. Ray stood, stretched his back, and picked up the empty coffee cups. I have suddenly remembered an appointment far away. You rode with yourself, Camille said. Convenient. He left them beside the truck. Camille crossed her arms. I'm not asking you to leave. Noah looked toward the channel. That's what you heard, she said. It isn't what I said, I know. Do you? No. The answer surprised both of them. Camille's shoulders lowered. Pay the boundary when it's due. Schedule the rest when you can. Until then, stop making the creek prove your father wrong on command. She handed back the drawing and walked to her truck. Noah called after her. Transmission fluid. She turned. Your lemonade, he said. Still the worst thing you ever did to me. For a second, her expression almost opened. You lived, barely. That seems to be your preferred setting. She drove away. Ray returned from his distant appointment at the end of the access lane. Well, he asked. Well, what? Did either of you improve? No. Consistent then. Noah spent the afternoon clearing the stone line down to its original height. Before dark, he called Sam. The trailer still behind your shop? He asked. Your little two-horse? Yeah. It was not little. May had bought it used when Noah was 19 because he spent more time borrowing trailers than returning them. The paint had faded from red to the color of dried blood, and one fender carried a dent from the time Blue chased a jackrabbit under it. Put a sign on it, Noah said. You selling? I'm exploring liquidity. You sound like a bank with tetanus. What do you think it's worth? $4,000 if somebody loves you. $2,800 if they know trailers. Listed at $35. You sure? Noah looked at the cedar chest. No. Friday morning, cattle bawled beyond the north fence before sunrise. Noah walked the route with Clay, while Wade held the herd near the ranch boundary. Noah had marked a broad path with orange ribbon, keeping it away from the exposed spreader and the blue survey stakes. Clay studied the turn. That's tight near the mesquite. Not if you bring them in slow. Wade doesn't bring anything in slow. Then Wade can repair what he breaks. Clay looked back toward the dust rising above the herd. You want to tell him? I thought that was your specialty now. Apparently my specialty is transporting notebooks. They moved a fallen branch from the lane. Clay noticed the damp patch behind the stone line. You got rain? Rain north of here. Flow lasted 2 hours. This stayed wet, some of it. Clay pressed his boot into the soil. The print darkened around the edge. Something unreadable passed across his face. Wade rode up on a bay gelding and stopped beside them. We moving cattle or studying footprints? We need to take the turn wide, Clay said. Keep them off the stones. Wade looked at Noah's orange flags. They're cows, not marching bands. Then don't conduct them, Noah said. Wade ignored him. Gates open? It will be when you line them out. I've moved cattle through here since you needed both hands to hold a fork, and the channel's 4 feet deeper than when you started. Maybe history isn't the argument you think. Wade's horse shifted beneath him. Wade settled it with a touch of his knee. You really think piling rocks in the dirt makes this a ranch? He asked. No, good. I think taking care of it might. Clay turned before Wade could answer and rode toward the herd. After a moment, Wade followed. The first cattle entered the parcel in a rolling cloud of dust. Noah stood at the narrow turn with a sorting stick, pushing the lead animals wide. Most followed easily. A red cow broke toward the wet patch, and Noah stepped into her path. She stopped, considered him, then swung back with an expression of personal offense. Clay brought the middle of the herd through at a walk. Wade pushed the rear faster. Slow them down, Noah called. They're fine. A young steer cut between the orange flags and knocked one blue stake flat. Another followed. Noah moved toward them, but Wade's horse reached the break first and turned both animals with a quick sidestep. For all his arrogance, Wade could handle livestock. He did it without wasted motion, eyes on the animals rather than Noah. The last cow passed. Dust settled across the brush. Wade dismounted beside the fallen stake. He picked it up and examined the painted top. What's this one mark? Edge of the old floodplain. Wade drove it back with his boot. Not at the exact point, but close. You planning to fence off the route? He asked. Not if we can agree how to use it. It's a cattle lane. It's also where the water needs to spread. Then make it spread somewhere else. Noah laughed. I'll explain that to it. Wade looked toward the damp soil. What did Dad think he was buying with that survey? A way to slow the runoff. That's all? That's all. Wade kept looking as if the ground might contradict him. Then he said, I'll give you $12,000 for the parcel. Clay, still mounted, went still. Noah slid the sorting stick under his arm. Yesterday it wasn't worth $1. Yesterday it wasn't in the middle of how we run the South herd. You inherited 4,000 acres. Find another middle. 15. No. You need money. How would you know? You're sleeping in a shack. Noah glanced at Clay. Clay said, I didn't tell him. Didn't have to, Wade said. There's a mattress box outside. For a ridiculous moment, Noah wished he had burned it. Wade mounted again. Offer's good until the first. Which first? Wade frowned. Nothing, Noah said. Private joke. His brothers drove the herd south. Noah reset the orange flags, then knelt beside the blue stake Wade had replaced. Its tip sat 2 inches from the survey hole. Close, but not where it belonged. He pulled it out and set it correctly. Then his phone buzzed. Sam had sent a photograph of the horse trailer parked beside the highway. A white sign was wired to the door. For sale. Behind the dusty glass, May's old lead rope still hung from its hook. Noah enlarged the picture, stared at the rope, and called Sam back. Take the rope out before somebody comes, he said. You want me to save it? Noah looked at the route his brother's cattle had worn through Dry Creek. Yes, he said. Save that. The buyer came the following afternoon, with cash folded inside a bank envelope and a flashlight small enough to disappear in his fist. He crawled beneath the horse trailer, tapped the frame, checked the floorboards, opened every latch, and frowned professionally at things Noah had repaired himself. Fender's dented, the man said. It was dented in the pictures. Pictures flatter. Not those pictures. The man offered $2,600. Noah said no. The man walked to his truck, opened the door, then stood there waiting for Noah to discover desperation. Noah looked at the faded red trailer. May had paid $3,200 for it 14 years earlier. She'd driven it home with both hands locked on the wheel and celebrated arriving without losing a wheel, bearing by opening a bottle of warm soda. The buyer called 28, 31, 29, 31, and I put air in the spare. That spare's old enough to vote. It's registered. They settled at $3,000. Sam witnessed the bill of sale against the hood of Noah's pickup. When the buyer drove away, the trailer rattled over the edge of the lot and disappeared onto the highway without ceremony. Sam handed Noah the old lead rope. It was blue nylon, sun-faded almost white near the clip. You all right? He asked. Why does everybody keep asking questions they don't want answered? I wanted to know if you were going to cry where customers could see. I'm not crying. Then business remains strong. Noah coiled the rope and set it behind his seat. You still owe me $1,800. There he is. On Monday, Noah placed a check for the completed boundary survey on Camille's desk, and another for half the topographic work. Her office occupied a converted insurance storefront between a laundromat and a shop that sold saddles, cell phone cases, and tax preparation under one roof. Rolled drawings stood in bins along the walls. A framed surveyor's license hung behind Camille's desk beside a photograph of Ray pretending not to enjoy a county fair. Camille looked at both checks. You sold the trailer. News moved efficiently through towns with insufficient entertainment. I liquidated an underperforming asset. You loved that trailer. I loved the person who gave it to me. The trailer smelled like mice. You kept it 14 years. Persistent mice. She picked up the topography check. If you need this back, I don't. Noah, if I needed it back, would you give me the survey? No? Then we've reached the useful part of the conversation. Camille set the checks down. We can start Wednesday. He nodded. Thank you for paying the boundary on time, she said. Was that physically painful? Moderately. He turned to leave. Noah. He looked back. She tapped the check against the desk. Selling something you care about doesn't make the plan better. It only makes it funded. I know. Do you? He almost gave her the easy answer. Instead, he said, I'm trying to. On Wednesday, the crew covered Dry Creek in a grid. Luis carried the survey rod through brush higher than his shoulders, while Ben cut sightlines with loppers. Camille moved the instrument from point to point, calling numbers Noah could not yet translate. He worked nearby, pulling salt cedar from the original spreader and stopping whenever the crew crossed his path. By noon, the heat pressed everyone into the narrow shade beside the shack. Noah opened 2 cans of beans and passed around tortillas. Ben produced hot sauce from his vest pocket. You survey with that? Noah asked. I survey because of it. Luis took one bite and began coughing. Camille handed him water without sympathy. Ray arrived carrying a cooler and declared that adults who knew a workday was coming should not be trusted to plan lunch. Inside were sandwiches, oranges, and 4 cold bottles of mineral water. Camille held up a bottle. Who were the 4 for? Me. There were 6 of them. Ray took a sandwich and sat on Noah's cedar chest until Noah made him move. After lunch, Camille spread a draft sheet across the table. Gray contour lines curved over the parcel like fingerprints. She showed Noah where the ground tilted toward the deepened channel and where the old benches remained broad enough to receive water. May marked 6 stone lines, Noah said. We've found 9 probable remnants. 3 are almost completely buried. Would all of them have worked together? That's what the elevation should tell us. Ray leaned over the page. Not just these. He pointed beyond the parcel's western edge. There used to be more on Salazar ground, he said. Upstream. If those are gone, water reaches Noah faster. Rosa Salazar? Noah asked. She owns it now. Harlan stopped speaking to the Salazars over a fence. Harlan stopped speaking to everyone eventually. It was how he simplified Christmas. Camille marked the adjoining area in pencil. We can only survey Noah's property. I know, Ray said. Water doesn't. Noah found Rosa Salazar's number in May's 6th notebook. May had written it beside a list titled, People Harlan Will Not Call. Rosa answered on the 4th ring. If you're selling satellite television, she said, I can see the satellites from my porch and none have impressed me. It's Noah Mercer. A pause. Harlan's youngest. He only had one youngest. He said he had 2 sons. Noah shifted the phone to his other ear. That sounds like him. What do you want? To ask about Dry Creek. I want less already. Rosa agreed to let him visit the next morning, mostly because Ray would come, and she wished to determine whether age had improved him. Her ranch sat west of Dry Creek behind a gate secured with a chain, baling wire, and what looked like private theology. She was waiting under the porch roof with a mug of coffee. Silver hair hung in a braid down her back. Her boots were polished, but the knees of her jeans were dusty. Ray climbed out of Noah's truck. Rosa looked him over. No improvement. You got meaner. I practiced. She poured coffee for Ray, and none for Noah. You're Harlan from the nose up, she told him. May from there down. Unfortunate arrangement. I didn't select it. No initiative. Noah explained the survey and the old stone lines. Rosa listened without nodding. When he mentioned restoring the spreaders, she set down her mug. Your father came here 12 years ago saying he wanted to clear the channel, she said. By clear, he meant push everything onto our side. I'm not my father. Every Mercer man says that right before using his truck. Ray hid a smile in his coffee. Noah unfolded a copy of the contour drawing. The upstream runoff reaches my parcel too fast. Ray says there were structures on your side. There are. Buried and broken. If you'd let us look all you want. You start moving soil. We discuss it first. Agreed. You bring machinery, you close every gate. Agreed. You knock down a fence, you fix it before sunset. I build fence for a living. That wasn't one of the conditions. Agreed. Rosa finally poured him coffee. She walked them to a shallow draw half a mile from the house. Old stones emerged beneath clumps of saccaton grass. The line curved gently across the slope, lower and longer than the one Noah had tried to raise. My father maintained this with the Mercers and Ortegas, she said. Not Harlan. His father. 3 ranches sent people after every hard rain. Nobody invoiced anybody. They just knew where the water came from. What stopped? Your grandfather died. Harlan bought a larger dozer. Pick whichever answer you prefer. Ray crouched beside the stones. This section held. Because I left it alone. Noah followed the curve. At the end, the rocks disappeared beneath a pile of dead brush. Beyond that, the draw narrowed toward Dry Creek. If we cleared this and repaired only what's missing, it might slow the first rush, he said. Might. I'd do the work. No. Noah looked at her. You'd do part, Rosa said. Then you'd get tired or broke or offended. Water comes through here after you go home. I'm the one who looks at it. I'm already broke. Good. Removes a variable. Ray laughed. Rosa pointed to a collapsed section. You clear 20 feet, by hand. We watch one flow. If it holds, we discuss more. That's all? That's not all. You put my name on nothing, call it no project, and do not use the word heritage while I'm holding a shovel. Deal. She extended her hand. Her grip was stronger than his bruise permitted him to appreciate. They began Sunday morning. Rosa arrived at Dry Creek before Noah with 2 shovels and a pan of biscuits. Ray brought loppers. Camille came in work clothes without her field book and said she had been promised breakfast. I promised labor, Noah said. Ray promised breakfast. Ray lies. Only about age, Ray said. They cleared the lowest intact spreader first. Noah removed sand from the downhill face while Rosa cut roots and Camille marked each exposed stone with chalk so they could return it to the same place if it shifted. Ray supervised until Rosa handed him a shovel and advised him to develop a less ornamental role. The work was slow. Some stones required 2 people to move. Others crumbled when touched. They used no concrete and built nothing higher than the surviving course. Where the old line had gaps, Ray showed Noah how to overlap flat stones and pack smaller ones behind them. Camille worked beside Noah. Both of them bent over the same section. You always invite former girlfriends to move rocks? She asked. Only the ones who criticize my elevations. Your sample size is concerning. He smiled, then grew serious. I should have asked you to come with me. Her shovel stopped. When I left, he said, I wanted you to. I didn't ask because if you said no, I'd have lost one more thing. If you said yes, I'd have owed you a life I didn't know how to build. You didn't owe me a life. I know that now. You could have owed me an honest conversation. He nodded. I know that too. Camille resumed digging. This is not forgiveness. I didn't think it was. Good. They worked shoulder to shoulder until the sun made speech wasteful. Near evening, the repaired line stretched 60 feet across the swale. It was unimpressive enough to please Ray. Rosa poured a bucket of pump water above it. The water moved through the grass, touched the stones, and separated into several thin paths instead of one. That's all it's supposed to do? Noah asked. Rosa wiped her hands on her jeans. You wanted fireworks? I sold a trailer. The creek didn't ask you to. The next rainfall came 4 days later, gentle on Dry Creek, but harder in the hills. Noah woke before dawn to water, whispering over stone. He carried a flashlight down from the shack. The repaired spreader held. Water crossed it in a shallow brown sheet, moving slowly enough to leave silt against his boot. It reached the bench instead of turning back toward the channel. Behind him, another light appeared. Camille walked from her truck with 2 cups in her hands. You called Ray, Noah said. He called me. He said if I wanted to watch you be wrong, less dramatically, I should hurry. They stood in the rain, drinking cinnamon coffee while water spread across land that had forgotten how to keep it. At the edge of the beam, the first green shoots from the earlier flow bent beneath the drops and lifted again. The rain strengthened until it drummed on the repaired roof. Camille looked toward the shack. Does that thing leak? Less than it did. That is not a measurement. It's an improvement. A bright seam of lightning opened above the western ridge. The thunder arrived close enough to make both of them duck. Camille picked up the coffee carrier. I'm evaluating your improvement indoors. They ran for the shack. Noah held the door while she slipped through, wet hair stuck to her cheeks. Water followed them across the floor in dark boot prints. The new roof leaked in 2 places. Neither was above the mattress, which Noah considered excellent planning. He set a saucepan under one drips and May's veterinary manual beneath a short table leg to move the cedar chest away from the other. Camille looked around. He had repaired the window with a pane cut from salvaged glass, hung his shirts from a length of wire, and built shelves out of feed crates. 2 blue dishes sat beside the camp stove. The coffee tin remained on the stone ledge. Blue? She asked. Noah nodded. Camille went to the window and touched one finger to the tin's lid. He bit my boot. He disliked that boot. He bit the other one, too. Consistent animal. He was mad because you left him in my yard while we went to dinner. He thought dinner included him. It usually did. Rainwater spilled from the roof in a bright rope outside the glass. They watched it strike the dust and disappear. I'm sorry, Camille said. He was old. I wasn't talking about his age. Noah leaned against the table. He waited by the truck for a month after Mom died. Every morning, like somebody had forgotten to bring her home. Camille kept her hand on the tin. He quit eating in January, Noah continued. Vet found cancer. I had 2 good weeks to make a decision and spent most of them pretending boiled chicken was a treatment. You were there. So was he. Camille looked at him. Those aren't opposite things. Another drop found a weakness in the roof and landed on Noah's shoulder. He moved the saucepan 3 inches. This place still needs work, she said. I was hoping the low lighting hid that. The lightning is unflattering. She picked up one of May's notebooks from the table. You reading all of them? Some twice. Find anything Harlan didn't bring me? Mostly proof that my mother was funnier than she let him know. Camille opened to a marked page. And the creek? She recorded more water on the benches when the old lines were clear. After Dad cut the channel straight, she starts writing about runoff instead of rain. That isn't proof by itself. I know. You said that without getting defensive. Maybe the roof hit me harder than I thought. Her smile stayed this time. For a moment, the shack seemed too small for all the things they were not doing. Camille stood close enough for Noah to smell rain and cinnamon. She closed the notebook carefully. His phone rang. They both looked at it on the table. Don't answer, Camille said. The display showed Wade. Noah answered. Camille sighed and walked to the window. What? Noah said. Wade's voice came through beneath the sound of machinery. You getting water? Rain. At the creek. Some flow. How much? I left my measuring cup outside. Is it crossing the cattle lane? Not yet. Call if it does. The line went dead. Camille turned from the window. He always talks like he's ending a meeting. He considers conversation a defect in instructions. Outside, the rain softened. The moment between them had gone somewhere Noah could not follow without forcing it. Camille placed the notebook on the cedar chest. I should check the stakes before the ground gets softer. I'll come. You'll stay off that knee. My knee's fine. You've been favoring it since I got here. I favor both knees equally, then limp symmetrically. By the time the final topographic drawing arrived, 3 repaired stone lines crossed Dry Creek. None looked new. That was Ray's standard. He made Noah replace any stone that called attention to itself, and once rejected an entire section as too proud. Rosa brought flat rock from a pile behind her barn and stayed to fit it. Ben and Luis volunteered one Saturday after Camille promised them lunch and neglected to mention Ray would be cooking. The survey gave them elevations, but not certainty. They repaired the lowest structures first, left intentional gaps, and marked the banks after every flow. Water stained the stones and showed them where they were wrong. Noah worked fencing jobs between storms. Sam paid another $600 after Noah threatened to remove the repaired gate from his trailer. Rosa introduced him to a neighboring rancher whose runoff had carved through a stock road. The job paid cash and came with 6 loads of usable rock dumped at Dry Creek. The creek began holding evidence. Silt collected behind the first spreader, in a layer barely as thick as a thumbnail. Grasses sprouted where water had rested. One cottonwood seedling appeared near a wet hollow, 2 pale leaves no larger than coins. Noah pushed 4 stakes around it so nobody stepped there. Ray saw the stakes and said, "You planning to charge admission?" "Protection." "From what?" "Mercers. Build higher." Clay arrived one evening in a ranch utility vehicle carrying a box of pump parts. His shirt was dark with sweat beneath the arms, and sand clung to his forearms. "Wrong pump," Noah said. "Thought some of this might fit yours." Noah examined a new seal and 2 lengths of galvanized rod. These came from the south well. Clay sat on the shack step. We pulled the pump. Why? It started bringing up sand. Noah looked at him. Clay picked at dried mud on his boot. "Not every time. Wade thinks the casing's cracked. What does the pump man think?" "He thinks we're drawing it too hard." "How many cattle are on that well?" 260 pairs, counting the south herd. "That's too many." "Wade says the grass is coming back. Green isn't the same as ready." "I know." Noah set the parts beside the door. "Sell some pairs while prices are decent. You want to come tell him?" "No." "Then don't make it sound easy." "I didn't say easy." Clay stood and walked toward the first spreader. The bench behind it had greened in uneven strips, each one following a shallow contour. He crouched near the cottonwood seedling. "You planted this?" It showed up. Clay touched one leaf with the back of his finger. "Mom used to put cages around volunteer trees." "I remember. She'd flag them with those pieces of yellow shirt. Harlan hated that shirt. Harlan hated every shirt after the sleeves came off." They both smiled. Clay looked toward the main ranch. "We bought a new feed wagon." Wade found one in Roswell. Said the old wagon was costing too much in repairs." "You signed for it?" "The ranch did." "That means yes." Clay stood. "It'll save labor." "You don't have a labor problem. We have several problems." "And Wade bought the one with tires." Clay's smile disappeared. "He's trying to keep things running." "So are you." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you keep saying Wade when the decisions belong to both of you." Clay walked back to the utility vehicle. "Keep the pump parts." "Clay." He stopped. "If you need help with the well, ask." Clay nodded without turning. "We don't need help." He drove away with the empty box bouncing on the floorboard. The next morning, Wade came to Dry Creek alone. He wore a clean shirt and drove Harlan's silver pickup. Noah was clearing brush near the cattle lane when Wade parked beside the new stone pile. "You charging Clay for my pump parts?" Wade asked. "He gave them to me. They belong to the ranch. Take them back." "I didn't say I wanted them. That simplifies things." Wade walked to the bench. He inspected the green strips, the cottonwood cage, and the silt gathered behind the stones. Noah continued working until Wade spoke again. "I'll give you $25,000. "For what?" "Everything south of the ranch boundary." "That would be Dry Creek. You name something else?" "No." Wade put his hands on his hips. 25 is a fair offer. It's more than fair for land you called worthless. I called it dry. You called it a scrub patch 4 days ago. Now it's a scrub patch interfering with operations." Noah rested the loppers against his leg. "It hasn't interfered with anything. You put stakes in the cattle lane, 4 stakes around a tree. You narrowed the crossing. I marked a route wide enough for 120 head. We may need to move more, then move them slowly. I'm not asking permission to work my own ranch. This isn't your ranch." Wade's face changed, not much. A slight tightening around the eyes. Noah had meant the parcel. Both of them heard the larger sentence. Wade walked to the edge of the channel. Water from the recent rain had cut a thin, dark line along the bottom. He nudged a deposit of wet sand with his boot. "Dad talked to you before he died?" he asked. "No." "Camille?" "About what?" "Whether he meant to change anything else." "Why would she know?" He went to her office. Nobody knew that either. "She's a surveyor, Wade. He didn't confess his soul over a property line. He left you the one piece he was spending money on. He spent more on the feed wagon you bought last week." Wade turned sharply. "Clay talks too much. Clay barely talks at all." "That's why you notice?" Wade stepped across the channel and stopped beside the exposed stone line. "What are you trying to make this into?" Noah considered giving him numbers: recharge, soil retention, forage. He considered showing him May's notebooks and the topographic drawing. Instead, he said, "A place water doesn't have to leave." Wade laughed once. "That sounds like Mom, probably where I got it. She used to drag us down here after storms." Wade looked toward the cottonwood seedling. "You were too little to remember the first years." Clay complained about mud in his boots. "You cried if anybody carried you. I liked independent travel. You sat down every 20 feet. Strategic rest." Wade almost smiled. Then a pump motor started somewhere beyond the ridge, a distant mechanical hum. His attention snapped toward it. 25,000, he said. Cash sale. "You can take your survey money, get a decent place, start something that pays. This will pay. Pride doesn't count." "Then why'd you buy the feed wagon?" The near smile vanished. Wade walked to the pickup. Before getting in, he looked across the marked route. "We'll move the south herd back through after the next rain." "No." Wade turned. "Wait until the ground firms up," Noah said. "Hooves will tear the benches apart. We move when the grass and water tell us. The water's telling you now. It doesn't speak for my cattle." Noah set down the loppers. "Call me before you come through." Wade opened the truck door. "I just did." He drove toward the ranch, leaving tire tracks across the damp edge of the lane. Noah watched the silver pickup climb the ridge. Then he pulled out his phone and called Clay. "Your herd stays off Dry Creek after the next rain." Silence answered for a second. "Wade already talked to you?" Clay asked. He announced, "We may need the south pasture. You need a different route." "There isn't a good one." "Then wait." Clay exhaled into the phone. "I'll handle it." "No, you'll tell Wade. Handling it would mean something changes." "I said I'll handle it." The call ended. That evening, thunder gathered west of the ranch. The weather service predicted less than a quarter inch. Ray stood outside the shack studying the clouds. "How much do you believe?" Noah asked. "Enough to move tools uphill." Together they carried shovels, loppers, and survey stakes into the shack. Noah checked the cottonwood cage, then stretched orange rope across the cattle lane and tied a metal sign at its center. "Ground soft. Call owner." Ray read it. "You think Wade can read?" he asked. "He can read. Not what I asked." The first drop struck the sign with small, bright sounds. Noah looked toward the ridge, waiting to see whether his brothers would respect a boundary when it did not belong to them. The rain lasted 40 minutes. It struck the roof hard enough to drown conversation, then moved east, leaving the land under a silver haze. Water crossed the first stone line in several shallow ribbons. The second spreader caught silt and sent a thin sheet toward the cottonwood cage. The third leaked at one end, but it leaked slowly. Ray walked the bench with a flashlight while Noah measured wet marks against the stakes. "Quarter inch?" Noah asked. "More upstream." "The sign's still up." Ray shone his light toward the cattle lane. The metal rectangle swung from the orange rope, rain dripping from its corners. "Perhaps Wade has learned respect," Ray said. "Say something believable before lightning hits you." They worked until the flow subsided. Ray drove home after midnight. Noah stripped off his wet shirt, left his boots by the door, and slept with the sound of water moving through grass. Cattle woke him before sunrise. At first, he thought the low bawling came from the main ranch, then wood cracked close to the shack. Noah reached the doorway in his jeans, still pulling on his shirt. The orange rope lay in the lane. One end had been untied. The metal sign was face down in the mud, with a hoof print across the word, owner. The lead cattle were already on Dry Creek. Wade rode behind them, pushing them toward the narrow turn. Clay held the eastern side of the herd. Both men wore rain slickers. Dust had become mud on the cattle's legs and bellies. Noah ran barefoot to the lane. "Stop!" Wade saw him and kept moving. Noah grabbed the orange rope and stretched it across the path. The lead cow slowed, swung her head, and pressed forward with the animals behind her. "Get out of there," Wade called. "You call this calling me?" "The south pump quit, then take the ridge route. That adds 6 miles. The ground's saturated. The cattle need water. Give me an hour. We can flag the high edge." Wade's horse stepped sideways as the cattle crowded. "I don't have an hour. You had a phone, and you would have said no. That doesn't make on not asking permission." A cow pushed through the rope. It burned across Noah's palm before he released it. The herd flowed around him, heavy bodies packed shoulder to shoulder. He moved toward the front, waving both arms. "Clay, turn them east!" Clay looked at the wet bench, then at Wade. "Clay!" Wade shouted. "Keep your side closed." Clay's jaw tightened. He kept his horse in position. Noah grabbed the sorting stick from beside the shack and ran ahead of the lead cattle. He pushed them toward the upper edge, but the orange flags marking the safer route had fallen in the storm. The first animals followed the old lane instead, where the soil was darkest. Hooves sank 6 inches. The ground opened beneath them in wet divots. New grass disappeared under mud. One cow stepped over the first spreader, then another landed directly on it. A fitted stone rolled loose. The third animal kicked it into the channel. Noah struck his stick against his boot. "Ha! Move up! Up!" For a moment, the leaders turned. Then Wade came from behind and closed the angle Noah had opened. "Quit fighting them!" Wade yelled. "You'll bunch the whole herd. You're putting them across the spreader. They've crossed here for 50 years. Not like this." The herd surged toward the cottonwood cage. Wade saw it. He drove his horse between the cattle and the 4 stakes, turning 3 cows with practiced pressure. The 4th slipped past. Her hind hoof caught the cage and folded it flat. The seedling vanished beneath her. Wade looked back once, but the moving herd carried his attention forward. Clay rode close enough for Noah to catch the bridle. "Take them around," Noah said. "The well's dry. I heard him. They've been without water since last night. Then take them around." Wade won't. "I'm asking you." Clay looked toward the rear cattle still entering the parcel. Rainwater dripped from his hat brim. "Noah, let go. You said you'd handle it. Let go of the bridle." Noah released it. Clay rode on. By the time the last animals crossed, the cattle lane had become a strip of churned mud. 3 blue stakes were down. The first spreader had lost 6 stones. The second held, though hoofprints pocked the soft silt behind it. The repaired end of the third had collapsed where cattle climbed from the channel. A red cow limped near the rear. Clay dismounted to check her hoof. Wade circled back, his gelding breathing hard. Noah stood beside the crushed cottonwood cage. "She missed the tree," Wade said. Noah lifted the wire. The seedling lay bent beneath it, one pale leaf torn away. "That your defense?" "My defense is 120 thirsty cattle. You could have called. We covered that. You could have taken the ridge. And had one break a leg on wet rock. We used the established route. You destroyed 2 weeks of work. You stacked rocks in a cattle lane. The line was here before the lane. And the ranch was here before your project." Noah dropped the cage. Mud splashed his bare feet. "This is the ranch." Wade looked around at the shack, the wet brush, the scattered survey stakes. "No. This is where you came to prove you didn't need one." The words landed because some part of Noah had already said them in the dark. He stepped closer. "Get off my land. We're leaving. Now." Wade dismounted. He was taller than Noah by an inch and broader from years of lifting feed sacks as though machinery were a personal insult. "You want to protect something?" Wade said quietly. "Learn what it costs. Those cattle are worth more than every stick and stone on this parcel. I made the decision that kept them alive. You made the decision that was quickest for you. That's what running a ranch is. Decisions before everybody feels ready. No. That's what running Dad's ranch was." Wade's expression hardened. Noah continued. "Straighten the channel because the road's muddy. Buy another wagon because the old one makes you look poor. Run a well until it spits sand because selling cattle feels like losing." Wade shoved him. Not hard. Hard enough. Noah stepped back into the crushed cage. His heel caught wire, and he nearly fell. He regained his balance and came forward. Clay moved between them. "Enough," he said. Noah looked at him. "Now you found your voice?" Clay held one hand against Noah's chest and the other toward Wade. "The cattle are through. That's your answer?" "My answer is nobody needs to make this worse. You watched him make it worse. The pump failed, Noah. So you get to tear through anything between you and what you need?" Clay's face closed. "We didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You just call Wade's choice the only one." Wade picked up his reins. "Dad was right about you." Clay turned. "Don't." But Wade was looking only at Noah. "You care more about the hurt than the thing itself. Mom's notebooks, those rocks, that tree. You don't want a ranch. You want proof somebody did you wrong. Noah could taste blood where he had bitten the inside of his cheek. And you want proof he left you in charge," he said. "Even now." For the first time, Wade's certainty flickered. Clay looked down. Noah waited for him to say something. Anything. He waited long enough that Clay understood what the silence meant and still did not fill it. Wade mounted. "We'll repair the lane when it dries. You won't cross again. We have an established use. You have a brother who kept saying yes." Wade settled into the saddle. "Don't do something stupid because you're angry." Noah looked at the crushed grass. "You don't know the difference." His brothers rode after the herd. Noah remained in the lane until the cattle sounds faded north. Then he lifted the cottonwood cage. The little tree had bent almost flat, but its stem had not snapped. He pressed soil around the roots and tied it loosely to one upright stake with a strip cut from the orange rope. Camille arrived before 8. Ray must have called her, though Noah had not called Ray. She stopped beside the first damaged spreader and closed her eyes. "How many reference stakes?" she asked. 3. "We can reset them." "How much?" "I didn't say I was charging you. I'm asking. Ben and Luis can do it in an hour." "How much, Camille?" She looked at his muddy bare feet and the red line across his palm. 180. He nodded. "Send the invoice." Her jaw tightened. "Fine." Ray came in behind her carrying a shovel and a roll of wire. Rosa's truck followed. She stepped out, surveyed the lane, and said one word in Spanish that Noah understood from tone. Nobody told him it could have been worse. They walked the damaged structures. Ray marked stones that had shifted. Camille checked elevations against the drawing. Rosa knelt near the cottonwood and pinched the stem gently between 2 fingers. "It might live," she said. "Might. That's what living does." Noah picked up a shovel. Ray took it from him. "Eat first. I'm not hungry." Then chew without ambition. Camille brought biscuits from her truck. They ate standing beside the shack. Noah could feel everyone avoiding the subject of Wade's offer. Finally, Rosa said, "You selling?" "No." "Good. I dislike wasting rock." Ray looked at Noah. "You locking the gate?" "Yes." "Think before you do." "I did." "You thought while angry?" "That's thinking with a hammer." "They crossed after I told them not to." "I know. They can use the ridge. I know that too." Noah waited. Ray handed back the shovel. "Then buy a good lock." After the others left, Noah drove into town. He purchased a hardened chain, 2 padlocks, and a second metal sign. He returned by afternoon and repaired the cattle guard gate until it closed square. Clay's utility vehicle appeared on the ridge while Noah threaded the chain through the posts. He came alone. Noah kept working. Clay stopped on the ranch side of the gate and climbed out. He carried an envelope. "Wade sent money for the stakes," he said. "Camille's resetting them. It's for the stonework, too." Noah slid the first padlock through the chain. Clay held the envelope between 2 fingers. "Take it." "No." "Why?" "Because he'll call that payment and do it again." He was getting cattle to water. He was proving he could. Clay looked back toward the ranch. "You think everything is about him?" "No." "I think you do." Clay placed the envelope on the gatepost. Noah picked it up and pushed it back through the wire. "What do you want from me?" Clay asked. "The truth before it becomes convenient." "About what?" "About Dad. About the ranch. About why you let Wade decide for you and call it peace." Clay's face reddened. "You left. You don't get to come back and ask why we survived the way we did." "No. I get to ask why surviving you required me to leave." Clay stood very still. Noah closed the padlock. The click sounded smaller than he expected. For a moment, neither brother moved. Then Clay put the envelope in his pocket and returned to the utility vehicle. He drove away without looking back. Noah hung the new sign from the chain. "Closed until ground dries. Call first." Below it, he added a line in black paint. "This means you." The gate stayed locked for 12 days. Wade used the ridge route twice. Noah could see the cattle moving along the distant slope, small dark shapes against the pale grass. The longer trail cost fuel, time, and whatever Wade valued most about not being told what to do. He never called. Clay did not come to Dry Creek either. Noah repaired the damaged spreaders with Ray and Rosa. Camille reset the reference stakes and sent an invoice for $180. Noah paid it the day it arrived, then folded the receipt into the survey tube, as if the speed of payment could make the whole event less personal. The ground dried, the hoofprints hardened into deep cups that caught seeds and loose grass. Noah broke the worst edges with a rake, but left most of them. Ray said the next water would decide whether they were damage or texture. The cottonwood seedling lifted itself inch by inch. Its bent stem formed a permanent elbow above the roots, but the remaining leaf stayed green. A second leaf opened beside it. Noah replaced the wire cage with 3 taller stakes and strips cut from one of May's old yellow work shirts. He found it at the bottom of the linen box, sleeveless and soft enough to tear by hand. "You're aware Harlan hated that shirt," Camille said. She stood beside the shack holding a grocery bag and 2 bottles of beer. "Family tradition," Noah said. "What's in the cage?" "Tree. What kind?" "Ambitious." She crouched to inspect the leaves, cottonwood. "You survey plants now?" "I recognize the aggressive ones. They ate sandwiches on the shack step." Noah had installed a small solar panel to run 1 lamp and charge his phone. Camille examined the wire entering through the window. "Licensed electrical work?" she asked. "Electricity doesn't believe in licenses. It does believe in fire. There's an extinguisher by the bed. That answers a different question." Noah drank his beer. The evening had cooled enough for quail to move through the brush. Near the first spreader, grass had grown in a crooked band nearly 20 yards long. "Rose's brother wants me to look at his runoff crossing," he said. "Paid job." "Restoration work?" He called it dirt fixing, more accurate. "If it goes well, there are 2 others. Camille nodded. "You're good at this. You've seen me fail at it." "I didn't say you arrived good." The beer bottle sweated in Noah's hand. "I've been thinking about what you said, about an honest conversation." Camille looked toward the creek. "I used to tell myself I didn't ask you to come because it would have been unfair," he said. "Truth was, I wanted you to prove you would, without making me risk hearing no. That sounds like you. I'm not proud of it. That sounds newer." "I'm sorry." She turned the bottle between her palms. "I was angry for a long time. I know. No, you know I was angry. You don't know why." He waited. "My father left when I was 22, she said. Not died. Left. Moved to Nevada with a woman who made glass beads. Every few months he'd call like we'd paused a conversation. I promised myself I would never chase somebody who made leaving sound inevitable. I didn't know. You didn't ask?" "No." A cicada started in the cottonwood by the old channel, loud and mechanical. Camille said, "I'm not comparing you to him. You don't need to say that. I need to know I'm not." He set down his bottle. "I don't know what happens here. With the creek. With my brothers. With me. But I'm done expecting people to follow while I refuse to tell them where I'm going." That sounded rehearsed. "I practiced on Blue. How did he take it?" Quietly. Camille smiled. Noah leaned toward her slowly enough to leave room for an answer. She kissed him once, warm and brief, then put one hand against his chest. "That," she said, "is not a contract. I've learned to read before signing." "Have you?" "No. But I pay invoices." She kissed him again. The weather changed 3 days later. Humidity gathered before dawn and stayed. Clouds built over the western mountains in tall white columns that darkened underneath. By noon, every weather service Noah checked showed the same band of tropical moisture curving north. Ray arrived carrying a portable radio and a face stripped of humor. "They're saying 3 inches in the upper watershed," he said. "They always say 3 when they mean 1. They're saying 5 in places." Noah looked toward the ridge. Dry Creek could handle the flows they had seen. A 5-inch storm upstream was not a flow. It was moving ground. He unrolled the topographic map across the shack table. Ray weighted the corners with blue dishes. They traced the channel from the western ranches through Rose's property and onto Dry Creek. "The Salazar lines will slow some," Ray said. "Your first 2 should spread it if they don't load with debris. The third still leaks." "Leak is good. Failure is bad. What about the north overflow?" Ray's fingers stopped near the boundary with the main ranch. The old channel entered Dry Creek through a shallow saddle before bending east. May's notes showed that hard floods once spilled across that saddle and spread along the lower bench. Camille's survey had found the remains of a broad stone apron on Noah's side, but the upper end lay on Mercer Ranch property. Noah had not inspected it since the brothers began using the ridge route. They drove to the north gate. From there, Noah could see fresh dozer tracks running along the ranch side of the fence. Wade had widened the alternate cattle trail with the new feed wagon's tractor. Brush and loose soil had been pushed downhill. A tangled berm of mesquite limbs, uprooted chawla, and dirt now lay across the shallow overflow. Ray swore. If that stays, Noah said, the water can't spread west. It'll stay in the cut and hit the bend. The bend aimed toward Dry Creek's third spreader. If it overtopped there, the lowest ground continued east toward the Mercer Corrals and machine shed. The restoration work could slow the flood, but not if the first escape route had been blocked. Noah called Wade. No answer. He called Clay. Clay answered on the first ring. What? I need the North Ranch gate open. Why? Noah explained the debris berm and the forecast. Clay was quiet. Wade pushed that yesterday. He needs to move it. We're bringing the last south pairs up. Bring them. Then clear the overflow. We've got cattle strung across 4 miles. Get somebody else on them. There isn't anybody else. Noah looked at Ray. I'll clear it. Another pause. I'll meet you at the machine shed, Clay said. The main ranch gate was closed when Noah and Ray arrived. Noah had not crossed it since collecting May's things. Ray sat beside him in the pickup, radio murmuring about flash flooding in counties to the west. After 10 minutes, Wade came down the lane in the new tractor with Clay standing on the side step. The feed wagon behind it still held a layer of supplement dust. Wade stopped on the other side of the gate. Noah got out. Open it. Wade shut off the tractor. You lock yours, I lock mine. This isn't about the cattle lane. No. Everything became about that lane when you chained it. The overflow's blocked. It's brush. It's a berm. It keeps cattle off the washout. It'll keep floodwater in the channel. Wade climbed down. Forecast says scattered storms, up to 5 inches west. West isn't here. Water comes from west. Wade looked at Ray. You fill his head with this? Ray rested one arm on the open truck window. His head arrived full. Noah gripped the gate. Give me the loader for an hour. I'll pull the debris back and rebuild the apron. We need the loader at the south well. For what? Pump truck's coming tomorrow. Tomorrow it could be underwater. Wade laughed without humor. You've had water move through that ditch 3 times, and now you're Noah, Lord of Rain. No, I'm the owner downstream from your bad decision. Then unlock your crossing. Ground's dry. Call first, and I'll open it. I don't call for permission to use the route our family built. You didn't build it, neither did you. Clay stood beside the tractor, eyes moving between them. Thunder rolled too far away to feel. Noah said, if that channel cuts through at the bend, it heads toward the corrals. I know my own ground. Then act like it. Wade came to the gate. You think a few green strips mean Dad chose you after all? Noah felt Ray watching him. This has nothing to do with what he chose. It has everything to do with it. You took Mom's notebooks, hired her friends, and turned a ditch into a memorial so everybody can tell you how wrong we were. You were wrong. About what? That hurting me proved I didn't belong. Wade's hand tightened on the top rail. You left. To take care of Mom. We had a ranch to run. She was dying. And Dad was falling apart. Clay and I stayed here and took every piece of it. You think I got the easy part? I think you gotta be good. The words silenced them. Wade looked away first. We don't have time for this. You're right. Open the gate. No. Clay stepped forward. Wade turned. Get on the tractor. No. It was not loud. It stopped Wade more effectively than a shout. Clay took off his hat and wiped his forehead. Dad wanted to cut the herd after the winter count. Wade's face emptied. Noah looked between them. What? Clay spoke toward the dirt. He said the wells were dropping and the south grass hadn't recovered. He wanted to sell 80 pairs, maybe more. When? Noah asked. March. Wade said. He was medicated and scared. He said it 3 times. He changed his mind. No, Clay said. You changed the subject. Wade moved toward him. We agreed not to make decisions while he was sick. We agreed because you didn't like his decision. Clay lifted his eyes to Noah. Wade told the feed man Dad wanted us to hold the full herd. He told Miriam too. Dad never said that. Noah heard the pump motor beyond the house, drawing against a weakened well. You knew, he said. Clay nodded once. I knew. And you signed the equipment loan. Yes. Why tell me now? Clay looked at the locked gate between them. Because I'm tired of calling silence peace. He took the ranch keys from his belt. Wade caught his wrist. Don't. Clay pulled free. We own half each, he said. You don't get every gate. He unlocked the chain. The gate swung inward. Beyond the ridge, the western sky had gone green-black. Lightning moved inside it without showing its edges. Ray started Noah's truck. Clay climbed into the bed. Noah looked at Wade. "You coming?" he asked. Wade stood beside the silent tractor, his father's ranch behind him and the storm coming toward all of it. After a long moment, he climbed onto the other side. Ray drove until the road narrowed, then stopped beside the pile blocking the overflow. Up close, the obstruction was worse. Mesquite trunks lay crosswise beneath loose dirt. Cholla roots, fence wire, and broken branches formed a mat from the ridge trail to the channel bank. The first hard water would pack debris against it and turn Wade's shortcut into a wall. Noah jumped out. "We need a 20-foot opening through the center." Wade landed beside him. "That'll cut the cattle trail. Temporarily. We can clear the downhill end and leave the crossing. The water will go around and take the whole trail. You don't know that." Noah pointed to the low saddle visible beneath the brush. "It's already trying to go there." Clay pulled a chain from the truck bed. "Which trunk first?" "The big mesquite. Clear the wire around it before we pull." Wade looked at Clay. "We need the loader." "Then get it," Noah said. For 1 second, Wade seemed ready to fight over the command. Lightning flashed above the ridge, and thunder followed before the light had faded. He ran toward the tractor. Noah and Clay cut fence wire from the largest trunk, while Ray dragged loose brush aside. The air smelled of dust and electricity. Wind pushed cold against Noah's wet shirt, then stopped entirely. Camille answered on the first call. "We're clearing the north overflow," Noah said. "Can you check the reference marks at the first 2 spreaders? I'm already at Rose's." Noah heard voices behind her and a truck engine. "You called her?" he asked. "Ray called both of us before you reached the gate." Ray lifted one shoulder. Camille continued. "Rose's upper line is clear. We're heading down. Bring every shovel you have. I own a survey company. We have shovels." "Right. And Noah?" "What?" "Don't stand in the channel." He looked at the wire tangled around his boots. "I would never." "She knows you," Clay said when he ended the call. "Cut faster." Wade returned with the tractor, the feed wagon abandoned near the gate. He lowered the front bucket and pushed into the loose dirt from the uphill side. "Not straight through," Noah shouted. "Scoop it back. Don't pack it into the channel." Wade stopped the machine. "You want to drive?" "No, I want you to listen." The bucket lifted. Wade reversed, repositioned, and began peeling soil from the berm in shallow bites. He was good with the tractor. The machine became precise in his hands, scraping inches from the overflow without digging into the old surface beneath it. Clay hooked the chain to the mesquite trunk. Ray signaled Wade forward. The chain came tight. For a moment, nothing moved. Then roots and branches tore free with a groan. The wind returned carrying rain. It came sideways, large drops striking the tractor hood and darkening the soil. Noah kicked loose sticks from the opening while Ray pulled wire. Clay cut a length wrapped around the buried stone apron. "Here," Clay said. Flat rocks appeared beneath the cleared dirt, fitted in a broad fan. May's notes had been right. The overflow had not been an accidental low spot. Someone had shaped it. Wade shut off the tractor and came down. He crouched beside the exposed stone. Rain ran off his hat brim. "Granddad built this?" "Maybe," Ray said. "Maybe his father helped. Nobody put a plaque on it." Wade rubbed mud from one rock with his thumb. Noah said, "We have to clear the lower edge." Wade stood. "Tell me where." They worked until water appeared. It began as a narrow brown line around the channel bend, shallow enough to step across. Rain fell harder upstream than on them. The flood carried twigs, grass, and black foam before the sky directly above had fully opened. Noah watched the line touch the cleared apron. Water slowed against the old stones. It spread left, then right, feeling for the saddle. A thin sheet crossed the trail where Wade's berm had been. "It's working," Clay said. "Not yet," Ray answered. The water thickened. In minutes, it covered their boot soles. Small branches lodged between the apron stones. Noah and Clay pulled them free. A log came around the bend and struck the bank hard enough to shake loose dirt. It swung sideways toward the opening. "Leave it!" Noah yelled. Clay reached anyway. The log caught his shovel and ripped it from his hands. He stumbled forward. Noah grabbed the back of his rain slicker, while Wade seized his arm. Together, they pulled him onto the trail. The shovel vanished downstream. Clay sat in the mud, breathing hard. Wade crouched over him. "You all right? I like that shovel." "You're an idiot. You bought it." Wade laughed once, a frightened sound. He gripped the back of Clay's neck, then let go. Ray waded to the upper edge and broke a small debris jam with a rake. Centimètres later, they cleared until the flow split cleanly across the apron. Part remained in the main channel, but enough spread over the saddle to keep the water below the cut bank. Noah looked toward Dry Creek. "We need to get down." Wade studied the rising channel, the corrals. "Move anything in the lower pens, there are 40 pairs there. Then move them now." Clay stood, mud streaking his face. "I'll take the west gate." Wade nodded. "I'll get the east." They ran for the tractor. Noah caught Wade's sleeve. "Do not push more debris toward the overflow." Wade looked at his hand, then at him. "I heard you," he said. It was the first time in Noah's memory that the words did not mean the opposite. Ray drove Noah to Dry Creek while the brothers headed for the corrals. Rain erased the road ahead in gray sheets. The pickup slid once on the descent, and Ray corrected without taking his foot off the accelerator. Camille's truck stood on high ground near the shack. Rosa had parked beside them. Ben and Luis worked at the first spreader, clearing branches with rakes. Camille moved between the channel and the bench carrying a survey rod. "How bad?" Noah called. "Rising 6 inches every 10 minutes, she said. "That exact?" "I survey." The first spreader had disappeared beneath brown water. Only the upper stones showed, each one trembling under the flow. Water crossed in a broad sheet and spread through the grass. The second held, but debris was building at its eastern end. Rosa handed Noah a pitchfork. "Your creek brought a forest." He waded to the jam. Branches pressed against the stones beneath the surface. Ben hooked the largest with a rake while Noah lifted from below. The branch came free, spun, and traveled toward the third spreader. "Not helpful," Ben said. "Go warn it," Rosa answered. Thunder cracked directly overhead. Water reached Noah's thighs. Camille grabbed his belt and pulled him toward the bank. "Out." "I can clear one more." "Out now." A fresh surge came around the bend, carrying fence posts and clumps of grass. It hit the first line in a rolling brown front. The spreader bowed. 3 stones broke free from the center. Water punched through the gap, but the ends remained. Instead of collapsing the whole line, the opening became another path. Flow divided around it and continued across the bench. Ray shouted over the rain, "That's why low!" Noah could not tell whether he was proud or merely loud. They moved to the second structure. Rosa and Luis packed brush into a soft bank, while Camille checked the water against the marked stakes. Each reading sent her farther uphill. "The third is loading," Ben called from below. Noah ran. The third spreader sat closest to the deep channel bend and the route toward the Mercer corrals. Water struck it faster because of the failed center above. Debris had gathered against the sections cattle damaged, plugging the intentional gap. "We need that opening clear," Noah said. Ben tried to reach it with his rake. The handle was too short. Noah tied a rope around his waist. Camille caught the other end. "Absolutely not. If the gap stays plugged, it overtops the bank. We clear from the side. The side's gone." A 6-foot section of soil had already slumped into the channel. Water curled against the new edge. Ray took the rope from Camille and looped it around himself. "Both of us." "No," Noah said. "Good argument. Move." They entered from the upstream bank, keeping low. Water pushed hard against Noah's legs. Ray braced behind him while Noah hooked the debris with the pitchfork. The mass shifted but did not release. Another surge raised the water to Noah's waist. "Back!" Camille shouted. Noah pulled again. The pitchfork bent. Then headlights swept across the rain. The tractor came down the ridge with the bucket raised. Wade drove. Clay stood on the side step, holding a coil of heavier rope. They stopped above the channel. "Hook it!" Wade yelled. Clay threw the rope. Noah caught it and wrapped the end around the largest branch in the jam. Ray checked the knot. Wade reversed. The branch tore loose, bringing wire, roots, and several smaller limbs with it. Water burst through the intended gap. The release knocked Noah sideways, but Ray and Camille held his line. The tractor dragged the debris onto high ground. Wade climbed down. His shirt was torn at one shoulder, and blood ran from a cut above his eyebrow. "Cattle?" Noah asked. "High pens. Corrals. Lower fences gone. People? Fine." There was no time to ask more. The released water spread away from the third line, but the damaged bank continued crumbling. If it cut another few feet, The main flow would bypass the spreader entirely. Noah pointed to the pile of flat rock Rosa had brought. We need to armor the edge. Wade looked at the channel. With what machine? Hands. They formed a line. Rosa chose the stones. Ben and Luis carried them halfway. Clay passed them to Camille and Ray. Noah and Wade placed them along the failing edge, working from stable ground inward. Wade set one stone too high. Lower, Noah said. It'll disappear. It's supposed to. Wade looked ready to argue. Then he pulled the rock free and reset it below the waterline. They worked until darkness became complete. The solar lamp in the shack cast a weak yellow square through the window. Truck headlights lit the bench. Rain struck their faces and ran inside sleeves. The stone pile diminished. Near midnight, the flood reached its peak. Water covered all three spreaders. The first had lost its center. The second leaked from two gaps. The third bent the current away from the collapsing bank by inches. Across Dry Creek, the restored swales filled one after another. Water spread between grass clumps, slowed, dropped silt, and moved onward in thinner sheets. What the stones could not hold, they divided. What one line lost, the next received. From the ridge, the parcel looked like a dark hand opening. Noah stood beside Wade at the third spreader. Both held shovels, though neither had strength left to use one. Wade watched water pour across the land he had called a scrub patch. Dad saw this? He asked. Not like this, but he knew enough to hire Camille. Wade wiped rain and blood from his face. He didn't tell me. He didn't tell me either. The answer seemed to surprise him. Clay came up behind them carrying 3 bottles of water. He gave one to each brother, then kept the last. No arguing until you drink, he said. They drank. The rain softened sometime before dawn. As the flow dropped, the spreaders emerged stone by stone. They were damaged, uneven, and still standing. Behind them, acres of shallow water reflected the paling sky. Camille found Noah near the cottonwood cage. The yellow cloth strips were gone. The wire leaned downstream. Beneath it, the small tree remained rooted, its bent stem pressed nearly flat by the flood. Noah crouched and lifted it carefully. One leaf was missing. The other held a drop of muddy water at its tip. Camille put her hand on the back of his neck. Neither of them spoke. Across the bench, Wade and Clay stood beside Ray, looking toward the Mercer corrals. Part of the lower fence lay in the water, but the barns remained above it. The main channel had not cut toward them. Sunlight reached the flooded swales. For one bright moment, Dry Creek held the entire sky. The water left mud in places nobody expected, and silence in places where noise had always lived. By 8, the rain had stopped completely. Ben and Luis slept sitting against opposite sides of a survey truck. Rosa walked the spreaders with a stick, testing the ground before each step. Ray stood in the shallow water near the first line, counting missing stones aloud as though they might return if properly inventoried. Wade sat on Noah's shack step, while Camille cleaned the cut above his eyebrow. It doesn't need stitches, she said. I said that. You also said it wasn't bleeding while it ran into your eye. Didn't affect my vision. That explains the tractor work. Wade looked at Noah. She always this pleasant? No. You're getting the professional rate. Clay emerged from the shack carrying May's blue dishes, each one filled with something edible. Beans, cold biscuits, peach preserves. He handed Wade a plate and kept moving. Wade looked down at it. This Mom's? Dish is, Clay said. Noah let you touch it? Noah was busy preventing your ranch from washing away. Clay gave Noah a plate without looking at either brother. They ate in the wet morning light. Nobody suggested the storm had repaired anything between them. The flood had merely made pretending less convenient. When they finished, Wade stood and looked south toward the main ranch. I need to see the corrals. Noah picked up his boots. You don't have to come, Wade said. I know. The road back was cut in 3 places. They walked the last half mile. The lower corral fence lay flat beneath a mat of grass and branches. 2 troughs had shifted off their pads. Mud covered the floor of the calving shed, but stopped several inches below the electrical outlets. The machine shop remained dry. Clay found the shovel he lost wedged against the west fence. He held it up. The metal blade had folded nearly in half. Still under warranty? Noah asked. Wade took it from him. You abused it. You bought poor equipment. I bought it before you learned to use tools. Clay rested the bent shovel over his shoulder. Then the failures inherited. Wade gave him a long look, then laughed. The sound startled all three of them. They worked on the corral fence until afternoon. Noah reset posts with Wade while Clay cleared wire. Their movements remembered one another, even when they did not. Wade held tension while Noah tied. Clay anticipated which tool came next and tossed it without being asked. At the final corner, Wade said, "The flood would have reached the machine shop." Yes. Maybe the hay barn. Maybe. Wade pulled the wire tighter. It didn't. No. He waited, but Wade offered nothing shaped like gratitude. Noah had stopped needing the word before he came. That surprised him. The pump truck arrived the next morning. The south well's casing was intact. Its water level had dropped below what the old pump could draw reliably, and the sand came from forcing the weakened well to produce faster than it recovered. Wade argued with the pump man for 20 minutes. Then Clay asked the only question that mattered. How many cattle can it support? The answer was fewer. Wade walked away before the man finished explaining. Noah found him near the machine shed, looking at the new feed wagon. "We can haul water temporarily," Wade said. "At what cost? Less than selling good cows in a soft market. You can haul for the south herd. Then the north well drops." "What do you haul to that one?" Wade kicked mud from his boot. "You enjoying this?" "No. Could have fooled me. You think I wanted to be right about the ranch failing?" "It isn't failing. The well is. One well. And the grass. You've been back 2 months. I grew up here. You left." Noah looked at him. Wade's old accusation no longer reached as far. "Yes," he said. "I did." Wade had no next step for an answer that did not defend itself. Clay joined them carrying Harlan's old herd ledger. 90 pairs. Wade's head turned. No. 80 was Dad's number in March. We added calves and lost water. 90. We built that herd for 30 years. We built it for a ranch with more grass. You already called the auction? No, I'm talking to you first. Wade stared at the ledger. Clay did not lower it. No registered cows, Wade said. They're worth the most. That's why we keep them. That's why we sell them before we're desperate. Noah stepped away. This decision did not belong to him. The habit of remaining near his brother's arguments, hoping one would choose him as the reason to be brave, had taken enough years. Behind him, Clay said, "Half the ranch is mine." Wade answered, quieter, "I know." They sold 96 pairs 3 weeks later. Wade stood at the loading chute and watched every animal enter the trucks. He could identify the registered cows without checking tags. When a black cow balked at the ramp, he climbed into the alley and moved her himself, one hand against her shoulder. The feed wagon sold too. They got less than Wade had paid. He complained about the loss until Clay reminded him the buyer had not forced him to purchase it. Noah did not attend the auction. He spent the day repairing Rosa's upper spreader. Dry Creek demanded work after the flood. The first line needed a new center. The third required 30 feet of bank protection. Silt buried several low stones while exposing others they had never seen. The cottonwood seedling survived with its permanent bend and grew 2 more leaves. Water remained in the shallowest swales for 9 days. Grass came next. It rose first in thin green bands, then thickened where silt had settled. Saccaton appeared near the upper bench. Alkali moly came up in places May's notebooks had marked 20 years earlier. Noah collected seed by hand, labeling paper sacks at the shack table. Rosa's brother paid him to repair 2 runoff crossings. Another neighbor hired him to map old stone remnants with Camille and restore 1 shallow swale. The work did not make him rich. It paid for fuel, groceries, survey balances, and lumber for a small porch on the shack. For the first time in years, Noah's bank account rose without waiting for someone else's invoice to be honored. Camille refused to call the porch level. "It drains," Noah said. "So does a slide. You keep sitting on it. I enjoy danger." She left a pair of boots beside his door, then a coffee mug, then a toothbrush she insisted was not evidence of any broader plan. "Temporary?" Noah asked. She raised one eyebrow. He no longer tried to translate it without asking. The locked cattle gate stayed locked until the ground firmed. Wade called the day before they needed the route. "We're moving 60 head south," he said. "What time?" 7. "Take the marked lane and keep them above the second spreader. I know where it is. Call if the ground's wet. It isn't. Then I'll open the gate at 6:30. A pause followed. "Fine," Wade said. It was not an apology. It was a phone call. Clay came first the next morning. He and Noah walked the route together. Wade arrived with the cattle and brought them through at a pace slow enough to leave the new grass standing. Afterward, they sat on the gate and drank water. Clay said, "We should pay for access." Wade frowned. "We've used that route forever. That's the sentence that got us locked out." Noah looked at the hoof prints. They were shallow and confined to the lane. "I don't want toll money," he said. "Lease winter grazing on the upper bench. Short duration. Move when I say." Wade glanced toward the thickening grass. "How many head?" 30 to start. That won't make a difference. Then you don't need it." Wade removed his hat and wiped the sweatband. 40, 30, 35, 30, and you help maintain the north overflow." Clay smiled. 30. Wade looked betrayed. "You negotiate like Mom." "She liked me better. She liked the dog better than all of us." "True," Noah said. They agreed on 30. The arrangement required more communication than any of them enjoyed. Wade complained about dates. Clay started keeping his own copy of every grazing decision. Noah said no twice when the soil was too soft, and both times the cattle stayed out. One morning, Noah returned from a fencing job and found Wade alone at the first spreader. 3 permanent reference stakes had loosened after another small flow. Wade was resetting them with a hand driver. He had Camille's drawing open on the hood of the silver pickup. "You're 4 inches off," Noah said. Wade checked, corrected the stake, and drove it again. "Clay send you?" "No." "Camille?" "No." Noah waited. Wade continued to the next stake. They were leaning. "That offend you?" "Sloppy work does." The answer belonged so completely to Harlan that Noah almost laughed. Wade set the second stake. "Dad asked me to come down here with him." "When?" "Week before he hired the survey. I said we had cattle to work." "Did he tell you why?" "No, he said he wanted to show me something. I told him if it mattered, he could show me after we finished." Wade rested both hands on the driver. "We never finished." Noah looked across the green bands. "He could have told you," he said. "Yeah, he could have called me, I know." Neither brother excused him. Wade adjusted the stake by an inch. "I thought if he left me the ranch, it meant he agreed with me. I thought leaving me the creek meant he was insulting me. Maybe he was just bad at dying. He had practiced being bad before that." Wade smiled faintly. "That too." He packed the drawing and drove away. Autumn came slowly. The grass cured gold, but the roots held. The first spreader caught leaves from the old cottonwood near the shack. Even after weeks without rain, damp soil remained several inches beneath the lowest swale. Then a broad winter storm crossed the western hills. It rained gently for 2 days, never hard enough to tear the banks. Dry Creek began flowing before dawn on the second morning and continued after sunrise, clear enough for Noah to see stones beneath the water. He carried Blue's ashes from the window ledge. Camille walked with him to the old cottonwood. Ray and Rosa were repairing a small washout upstream. Wade and Clay had promised to arrive with stone, but Noah did not wait. He knelt among the roots and opened the coffee tin. Blue's ashes were finer than creek sand, pale gray against the dark soil. Noah scattered them beneath the tree where May had once recorded shade, damp ground, and the return of birds after rain. Camille rested a hand on his shoulder. "You were a good dog," Noah said. The words caught, but they came out. Water moved steadily through grass behind him. A truck door closed near the gate. Wade and Clay approached carrying flat stones between them. Clay nodded toward the gap in the first line. "Need this one there?" "Lower," Noah said, beside the dark rock. They set it down. Wade looked at the next stone, larger than the first. "That'll take all 3?" Noah wiped his hands on his jeans and joined them. Clay counted 1, 2. They lifted before 3.